Aha! Finally got it up and running. Now we can wait for the thousands upon thousands of viewers out there horribly disappointed. Trying to find us again because YouTube is censoring correct thought.
Hey, Gold Banner.
Yeah, Gold Banner made it first, I think. First one I see.
Well,
Oh, my.
little problem. A few problems there.
I have no idea what the problem was. Everything looked absolutely normal until I pushed go lives. And then just sat there. Holy crap. Everyone's watching the other streams trying to find anything, and nothing's happening for some bizarre reason. Hello, Adam.
Oh,
Hey, Edmic. Okay. Gold Panner says hi, Eva.
Hi.
So, okay, we're bringing people on here. We got 3. Adam, Edmic, and Gold Panner must be it, because I got 3 there and 3 there. Terry made it. Hey! Lodak, Georgie. Yeah, I don't know what happened, guys, but everything looked absolutely normal until I hit go live, and then it just went.
Wow. There's a possible revolutionary new way to extract lithium from seawater.
Oh, thank you for about the cornstarch as a leaching agent. It's not, but some people are saying it is. So remind me to do that.
about that? Okay.
Yep. YouTube buffer gremlins. I don't know what the hell it is. You know, it is just insane. Look, it shows only 3 people right here, and I've got 6 right there. Now it's catching up. Now it's got 5. Oh, Lord save us from YouTube. Anyhow. So as you can see from the videos, did some interesting stuff last week. Finally got it uploaded. Good evening, Mr. Virtue. And had some other interesting things happen. One thing, a friend of mine, Jason, he's got his own channel. He has one of those, what are they? The crushers with the central round thing that goes around. Gosh, I forget the name of that. I mean, he's got one of those. He actually says it works pretty good, even when it had a lot of clay.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Cone crusher?
No, it's not a cone. It's a, oh
The
gosh,
centrifugal.
it's like Cisco or something like that. But it's got a round, well, kind of an oval-shaped chamber with a round rotor in the middle. It goes like this. You feed the ore in the top, it gets trapped and it works like a jaw crusher in terms of what it does. But he says it works pretty good. Hi,
Hey,
Zioxio.
Zioxio.
Nice seeing you again. And he said that Olesi, that's it, the Olesi crusher.
Okay, yeah, you're talking.
Because I was looking at that, I'm looking at the stuff I was trying to to crush that was jamming up and stuff. Man, I don't know how that would work with high clay stuff, because it's not going to be nearly as easy to clear out as a jaw crusher.
Right, not open enough.
Yeah, and he said it worked fine, so that would be nice. So that was interesting. I had another Jason, the guy that was on the videos from the Back to Bedrock claims. He was saying that in Arizona that they were going to be using cornstarch for leaching gold. And I'm like, well, that sounds rather odd. So I said, could you please send me some information on it? And he sent me some information. And I'm not sure about the entire surroundings of this, but it sounds like what tends to happen in the, what would you call it? the shadowy promotion field where they're not legitimate, where they'll find something that looks interesting and then they'll twist it and try and make something else. Now, what this was like Northwestern University in Chicago or something like that. I think it was Northwestern. But anyhow, they were doing some testing, and it's a subcomponent of cornstarch. I forget what it was.
It would be a thickener, right, Chris? It would work as a thickener.
Well, that's not it at all, Chris. This is totally different. And what it was this particular component of cornstarch will precipitate gold very, very selectively out of a bromide solution. If you have the potassium gold bromide ion, it's the only thing that'll fit, and it'll precipitate it with great selectivity. But you have to start with the gold potassium bromide complex. So it has nothing to do with leaching whatsoever. Totally useless for most leach solutions.
Got a couple of comments there.
Yeah. But I don't think it was the dextrin. It had a long name. It's like the hexa something or other. Hard to tell. But anyhow, it was technical reports I could link to. There was what you might call popular reporting on it. There was a couple of articles, and one of them had the original thing, so I ran that up the Google chain. And looks like it could be very good in the refining of gold. If you had a situation where you were dissolving a mix of metals and gold, could be precious metals or whatever, using a bromide leach. So you're getting that potassium gold bromine complex. This stuff will kick that out of solution and nothing else. So for refining of gold, could be extremely useful. Yeah. And but this is, yeah, exactly. Now, Chris, but this was presented to me as if Jason had been told it was a new leaching solution. And one of the articles, in fact, basically said could replace cyanide. Has nothing to do with dissolving the gold. Nothing whatsoever. So that is something that often happens in this business, where you'll have a news report, a new technological development or whatever, and somebody completely twists it around to try and sell something. And it's just fraud. In most cases, I mean, these are fraudsters. That's how they make their living. I was once checking out a platinum mine it was near the Mountain Pass mine in California, just before you get to Nevada on the whatever, I think it's 15. But anyhow, and there was a rather rich guy that my mom had some one business dealing with. I mean, they were involved in an apartment building. And so this guy asked me would I mind checking this out, because one of his people was saying, my friend has this platinum mine and needs to invest some money to put it together. And I went out and I looked at it, and it's one of those things that, yeah, my bullshit meter is pegging here, but I can't find anything I can just literally prove, just from what they're telling me, that it's bullshit. So I wrote the report to this guy and everything. And then about a month later, my friend, now deceased, Hiram Wood, sent me a publication from the Arizona Department of Mines and Mineral Resources on the 10 things to look for in a gold mining scam. Had 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I say it's one of those things where, first of all, there was platinum everywhere. Okay, this whole area was just loaded with platinum, but it wouldn't show up on a normal assay.
Well, there's
The normal
red
laboratory
flag
techniques
number one.
will not do it. And so then it required this special extraction technique and the proprietary this and the blah, 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 that. And as Jim said, first thing, it's not detectable using standard techniques.
You know,
Right there, huge red flag.
You know, time to go on.
You know, and I told this guy, I said, look, it's potentially true, but it'll cost you $50,000 for me to find out, and the odds are about 1,000 to 1 against.
Right.
You know,
Save your money.
yeah, and that's it. Oh, it was a placer, all that alluvial placer out there by Mountain Pass. Everything has platinum in it. It's all economic grade, but you have to use a particular technique and then use electrophoresis, I think it was, to recover the gold from solution. Oh my God! I say it was just one of those things that no, you know, doesn't make sense to me. But it was so funny. 6 out of 10. That's a pretty good score. To have 6 out of 10 possible red flags. Yeah.
No, there's plenty of scammers out there, though. So
It's amazing.
you definitely want to do your due diligent homework if you're going to really look at buying or investing in an operation.
Yeah, I'll say so.
Wow.
I say it was
160 ounces to the ton.
it was nice to be able to set Jason number 2. Just a little thing. There was somebody else last week that sent me. It was a press release. It was a mine in Nevada, and it was essentially this mine they'd done drilling at least 10,000 samples in their drill program. So it was a pretty good sized drill program.
Good operation.
But then when they started mining it and they were heap leaching, they found some of the ore was carbonaceous and was preg robbing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that it had carbon in it and would actually suck gold out of solution, but they hadn't detected that during the initial drilling program because the initial drilling they'd done hadn't shown any indication.
Samples, yeah.
And so they had not been doing the testing for that.
Ooh, ouch.
And so all their calculations were wildly off in terms of what their recoveries were and such.
Yeah, you get start scavenging, having that scavenge that gold out or something. Like
Yeah.
That. Ouch.
And so they were making adjustments. One of the adjustments was we're now testing for the preg robbing capability, and we're using tighter ore grade control. They were doing 10-foot benches. They were blasting 20-foot benches, but sampling it on 10-foot intervals and digging it on 10-foot intervals, and moving the preg robbing stuff separately. And the other thing they were doing was, they'd done some testing. Initially, they were using kind of the standard thing, which is you drill it, blast it, mine it, throw it in a crusher, crush it, and they crushed the ore and then would convey it to the heap and like that. And they did some testing and found out they could just directly leach run-of-mine material and improve the economics because the crushing, the conveying, and all this other stuff adds a lot of money, bottlenecks, where it's just throwing it in a truck, hauling it up on a leap and production, which is what we did at ChemGold where I used to work. Is a lot cheaper. Now,
Big leach pad.
it's almost undoubtedly that they lost some recovery, but if it was a lot cheaper to get a slightly lower recovery, your profits are higher.
Right. As long as it's not a huge percentage of losses.
No, it didn't say what the depth was. It didn't give any details. It was more like a local news report sort of thing. But anyhow, he wasn't sure exactly what this meant. So he sent to me and asked me for just a quick technical analysis. If any of you are ever in that situation where you've got some kind of a technical report, you don't understand the jargon and stuff, and you're confused, and it's important to you to figure out what's going on. I think in this case he was a local. He might have been thinking of investing or just how is this going to affect the local.
Right.
But anyhow, there was some personal hookup where, whether this is going to work or not was important to him. If you're ever in a situation like that, don't be afraid to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to look at stuff like that for free. If I don't have to spend a lot of time analyzing it, it's fun. In this case, it took me 5 minutes to read the report and send him an email. Then he sent me his phone number, so we spent a little while chatting. Again, no charge because it's interesting, it's fun, it gives me more information. I never know where I'm going to get a little piece of information here that'll be useful over there.
Right.
I was really, really hopeful about that cornstarch leaching thing. It's like, doesn't sound right. There's got to be something there that I'm not seeing. And it was disappointing because non-toxic leaching is kind of the holy grail. So if any of you ever have something like that where you need a little information, don't be afraid to contact me, etc. At hardrocku@outlook.com. It's also at the beginning of each of my videos. The email address is also the identifier of my not Patreon, PayPal account. So it's put up there to show as my PayPal account, but if you just use it as an email address, it works just fine. Graphitic schist, yeah. Anyhow, Zioxio, last time we were over there,
you weren't there.
You never showed up. So there.
I've been over there many, many times looking through records.
But anyhow, I say if you ever have questions like that, go ahead and ask. If I'm too busy, I'll just let you know. But rarely does it take very long to get to figure out something simple like that and get you some kind of an idea. I may not have an answer, but I can potentially guide you in the right direction better. Never done anything along the Arkansas River. Nope. Yep. And got that. Done a little bit of testing so far on that Prospect M, the dumps. I panned some of the white material that was rolls crushed and got a modest amount of free milling gold, coarser than average, hard rock, but not radically so. It was a 10 kilogram sample just to see what would happen. And then I took 10 kilograms of the red dump material and soaked it in water, stirred it up with a mixer and such, and screened it to 16 mesh. And then I panned the 16 mesh minus, which was roughly half of the overall material. And I did not get very much in the way of gold at all. I'd say overall maybe 0.01, 0.02. And the other material is, well, you probably saw it on the table out there. The fines and the coarse was drying. And I'll go out there and crush the coarse and see what we get from that. Eve and I were out at the ranch yesterday setting up the mill so I can get going on some bulk samples, specifically the Montana M right now. I want to run 100-pound samples of the red and white dump material through the impact mill, get it nice and fine, and then send it through the concentrator and see what happens. And so should have some stuff from out there. So getting that all set up. That's about it.
You gave everybody a challenge last week, remember?
I remember giving him a challenge. I forget what the challenge was, though. Could you remind me, my dear?
It was about leaching methods.
Can anyone find any non-toxic leaches? Was that it?
Yes.
That was our question.
I forgot to do a great deal of research on that. But did anyone ever do any non-toxic leaching research last week and come up with any interesting leads? I think I'm going to have to basically just email that clean mining thing and see what we can get going.
Were you able to watch his webinar or anything?
Yeah, I watched the webinar and stuff. Define toxic. It can kill you if you get enough of it, but not if you drown. You know, water is toxic if you figure that. But yeah, like the thiosulfate leaches are considered basically non-toxic. Glycine. Did you get any details on that, Ethan? Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at.
Sports, that's the one we were
Yeah, that Cleaners Technologies out of Australia.
checking them out.
I was looking at bio using apparently they use lichens and bacteria and stuff.
To actually dissolve gold or to break down the pyrites.
That I didn't get to yet.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked.
The bioleaching that I'm aware of is usually used to break down sulfides and such. It can be used to liberate things like copper. I don't believe there's bioleaching directly to dissolve gold at this point. Yeah, Ethan, that's the thing. I'm trying to find something where somebody's actually got a system somewhere. I know Bahamian mining, and I know I've screwed up on that because I should have done a little more research. I have had some time. I got distracted. Poof you a month. Yeah, that's pretty much right.
Give me a wrench.
Toxic leeches. Yeah, I really need to spend more time on that this week. I forgot.
I would agree with Chris on that, but I know they can biodegrade pyrite, yes.
Yeah.
But
BioD, that would be Bahamian Refining Corporation in Phoenix. I've heard of it. I don't know any details. It has been around a while, since the 80s, I believe. Bahamian has been advertising in California Mining Journal.
okay,
Have you seen those?
probably, I'm sure I've read it.
Yeah, BioD is their proprietary leaching solution. Don't know what it is. Could be thiourea, could be a thiosulfate. Don't know. But again, it's kind of like the clean mining in terms of the literature is just it's the magic solution, so to speak. Yeah, I think some of those critters too bio-excrete gold from natural water and such like that because it's toxic. Hey, Smoking, how's it going? So I need to do BioD and write that down. See what they're, because again, you want to find out what the kinetics are and a few other things. Clean mining. We've at least got some numbers from clean mining that say it's essentially pretty close to cyanide in terms of economics and kinetics.
Well, I'm gonna go through Day Ray Metallica and see what the world is for.
What a geothermal closed loop vertical well is. No, I do not. My guess is it's a hole drilled vertically that you pump the solution out, or the geothermal liquids out, take heat out of them, and then pump them back down again. That would be a closed loop. But that's my technical interpretation of the words.
I'm looking it up. Geothermal closed loop.
Are you head leaching or leaching your concentrate? Not sure at this point, Ethan, what we're going to do. Depends on a number of factors, such as can we concentrate it reasonably? The answer at this point is not yet. We sure as hell can't. Huge losses, like 80% losses, which would mean no. We do have the theoretical capacity to do direct leaching, and that very likely will be the way we do. Click on our chat and 3 dots pop up to make a moderator. Okay, we're already vastly confused by what's going on.
It says 3 right there.
Yeah,
If you tap that, then you can turn.
but why would we need a moderator?
Well, I don't know. Somebody made a comment or something that he thought should have been dropped.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's try. No, I know with the top chat thing that may not be visible. Yeah, I know. That's what, because there's one where it'll show
What are the
everything.
3 dots you're carrying with you?
You know. Geothermal area that cracks in a well drilling technique rather than ripping up large areas of it. Make a run on the mine in southern Nevada. 160. Yeah, exactly. This is a bad time to be prospecting Nevada or Arizona. The rock we're in right now is heavily oxidized. There would be no advantage that I can think of to roasting it.
It's for heating.
There's a grifter making comments. Yeah, not on my chat either.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on here. So.
Has electrolysis ever worked for leaching? You can drive gold into solution using electrolysis, or you can take it out of solution using electrolysis, but it's usually done as a secondary loop once you've done an enrichment loop first. Like you do cyanide leach, put it into carbon, then when you strip the carbon, you use electrolysis to electroplate the gold onto a cathode to
By
recover
the way,
it.
Bear, a geothermal closed loop
Yeah,
system is
yeah,
used
right
for
there at
heating
Mr.
and energy.
Logan. Yeah.
Pin message
Make
report.
moderator.
There's an add moderator
Yep,
thing
that's
here.
it.
Do we want to
You
add
can
you?
try it.
Hit add moderator there, Mr. Lodak? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. We'll give him a chance to.
Let's, oh, come on. Let's see. Okay, I'll make you the mod. I'm going to click add moderator here. Okay, you are now a moderator, Mr. Lodak. I trust you. Do what you need to do.
Don't go crazy.
Yeah.
And don't moderate the tinfoil hat goddess.
Yeah, Zioxio, we pretty much do have a ban on cyanide. There's some that are grandfathered in. That's about it.
Randy.
Borax is not a lixiviant. It does not dissolve gold. Borax
Clean it.
is used in the smelting process to clean it during the smelting. But first, you got to get like a doré or something close to that, or a high grade concentrate. 10-20% gold. Borax, when you melt it all down, will dissolve the other stuff and leave the gold there. Thank you, Mr. Lodak. Appreciate it. Yeah, Chris, I know they were looking at direct electrowinning for fairly concentrated solutions. Do you know what the lower limit is now on direct electrowinning as an efficient way of recovering gold from the leach solution as opposed to like a stripping circuit? Any idea what the number is? Mr. Lodak now comes in as blue. Ooh, that must be moderator
He's
blue.
got the blue wrench, man.
Yeah, he's the man.
Well, if we can have two moderators, we should make Chris a moderator
Yeah, you
too.
probably should.
We can, but I don't know if he wants to be or if he knows the procedure. Mr. Lodak says he does that on other stuff, so he's very familiar with what the moderator's options and stuff are. Reno cell for electrowinning. Huh?
Chris said you could give him the wrench too.
Yeah, if you're gonna take off, Mr. Lodak, let me know, and I can throw the moderator to Chris. It's advertising the ICMJ. Okay, I'll see about looking at it. Mr. Lodak says hi, Eva.
Hi, Mr. Lodak.
So, anyhow, direct electrowinning is possible. They're not doing it on the large scale operations that I'm aware of, but certainly if your solution is rich enough, it's perfectly feasible, and it eliminates a fairly complex process. The adsorption-desorption circuit is a fairly complex secondary circuit. If you can just replace that with an electrowinning cell, that was pretty good. Okay, Chris, I'm going to make you you're a moderator too now. What do you think of that?
There,
What?
equity demands we make everybody a moderator.
Yeah, I don't even know what a moderator does except moderate. But anyhow,
Moderators delete grifters.
okay, it also makes it so we can post links in chat, says
Yep.
Chris.
It does.
So I have a gold panning trip planned in mid-July. I was wondering if you had any tips on which side of a river and or sandbars I should pan. Okay, that sounds a little bit more like a placer question, but I think it has to do more with the actual flow of the river
Well,
than anything
If
else.
I
Yeah,
could make a
it does.
suggestion there,
What?
Jeff Williams had that amazing video, the diorama that showed water dynamics.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's got something, a lot to do with it, but you really want to look at the drainage and where the turns and curves or old oxbows possibly even would be, where it may have at one time went way over, let's say to the right, and zero in on one end or the other of those situations where it may have left a placer, a buried placer outside the edge of the river. Your inside curve on a river, a lot of times with a little bit slower water, you'll pick up gold. And in a lot of cases, it's the finer gold. The heavier gold will be in the faster moving current where it falls out in the rocks, which could be the outside curve of a river. So it depends on the flowage and how big of a river or creek that you're looking at.
Let me see if I understand this. The smaller gold will tend to take kind of a direct line down the river. If you have like a curve like this,
Yeah.
then it's going to tend to go straight and kind of cut the corner.
And it'll tend to fall out easier on an area that the water would slow down, which is usually the inside of a curve,
Mhm.
the inside bow. That finer gold will fall out because if that finer gold is in fast water, it'll keep going and going and going.
And coarser gold will tend to be found in the faster moving water and will be trapped by
Bigger
obstructions,
rocks or
cracks, things
right,
like that.
something that acts as a sluice box or a riffle.
Okay. And so what size gold you're looking for, that's available in that river apparently is a very important variable in terms of where to look for the gold. So the faster water with obstructions like big boulders, cracks, the typical bedrock crevices. Look at the faster water where there's some kind of trap. Smaller gold is going to generally be in larger deposits.
In a sandbar or a smaller gravel bar.
What mesh am I down to? It depends on which gold I'm looking at. In the case of Montana B, we're running 80% passing 6.8 microns, which is less than 2,000 mesh. So I'm having to figure out how to extract gold from hard rock that is well below 2,000 mesh in general, the vast majority of it. And that's why we're looking at leaching. Potentially a concentration if it's associated with almost exclusively with the iron oxides, which it looks like, and we can concentrate the iron oxides well. We might be able to get a good concentrate with minimal losses. I would say at this point, with the information we have, a direct leaching would probably work just fine. The concentration is worth looking at, but I'd say the probability that it will be the most economical system, a concentration followed by a leaching, is probably less than 50%. It's just if it does, it has a lot of advantages. It's worth spending a little time trying to figure it out. You can look for the black sands, and quite often the black sands and gold co-deposit, the flood gold especially, the fine stuff, because the same physical phenomena that deposit and concentrate your black sand will tend to do that.
Your heavies.
They also make, I forget what the name of that is, but it's in a, basically just a piece of copper tubing with a cap on the end and a magnet in there, and you just stick it in the material and move it around and pick it out, and you'll see how much black sand you have stuck to it. Then you just turn it the other way and go like this, and the magnet slides to the other end, and the black sand pulls off, and then you do it again. And it looks like a very simple and efficient method to look for the black sand. Yep.
I think Geological made a good comment there, and I think Smoking did too. But ideally, look for bigger areas of bigger rocks along those gravel bars and those things on that drainage. And the bigger rocks, you'll usually find bigger gold. It'll identify, higher flow channels that were left behind or oxbows. Because in a lot of drainages, you get cross-sectioning. I think that's what Geological mentioned here earlier, is if it can erode an old area and move it downstream again. So anytime that you got cross-flowed against something that got laid down many years before, it continually will provide gold along those drainages as things change, floods or mudslides or inclement weather, major snow melts in the spring.
Sports. Melinda there seems to have an excellent idea, and this is what the big companies always do. You test it in a small scale first. But Melinda, that's what we're trying to do for Sports, is find him a good leaching system in terms of something that's non-toxic, kind of off the shelf, so he can do that. Sports, another question is, what is the volume that you're looking at in the long run? Right now, you've got a limited amount of material that's sitting there, but I mean, in the long run, is this like hundreds of tons or tens of tons or thousands of tons? H2O leaching. Thousands of tons. Yeah. See, this is why, Melinda, we're looking for a system for him. He's got very fine gold, and it doesn't like to recover well by gravity methods. So we're trying to find him another method to get the gold out. Now, I forget, Sports, was that placer or hard rock? I'm not sure, because if it was placer, another thing you can do is do a very fine physical screening. And if you do like a gravity separation and then screen to 400 mesh, anything above 400 mesh is not going to have gold likely in it at that point if it's a good gravity recovery. Hard rock? Okay. Yeah, then you have a liberation issue too. So you probably just want to go basically, leach the crushed rock.
He had, I think, if I remember right, he had roughly 40% recovery in gravity separation.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
decent recovery there.
60% minus 200
Yeah.
mesh. So.
Yep. Muriatic acid and hydrogen peroxide, you're going to be getting a gold chloride complex there, which will absorb onto a number of things, or can be precipitated by known things. However, as Chris Georgie points out, you do have some relatively toxic chemicals involved there. And we're trying to look for something that's both environmentally and safety-wise a lot more benign. We do have a couple serious potential ones, the clean mining solutions from Australia and the biodeleachant from Bahamian.
Yeah.
I don't really care what AOC likes. Sorry. As pretty much,
Don't get him going.
if the only thing I know
Easy,
is
David.
AOC doesn't like it, I'll take that as it's a good thing. Yes, what else you're dissolving? You want selectivity. You want economics. How much does it cost you to get stuff into solution? How much does it cost you to get it out of solution?
Right.
And say there's a lot of, Zeoxio, I'm thinking maybe Greta Thunberg and AOC they got a competition going here, It's kind of like the Kardashians,
Hey, Bryce.
Yeah, and chlorine leaching won't get silver. If you have sufficient silver to make it important, silver chloride is not soluble in water. Yes, you can. Cyanide works on gold and silver. Thiosulfate will work on some silver ores, for sure. If it's a silver chloride mineral, it'll dissolve it like crazy. And so, yes, there are some, and that's, I'm not sure on the biodeleachant. Again, I've been a bit remiss. Sorry, I've been juggling a lot of things this week. And I was supposed to have a rigid sawzall basically show up in the mail. As a matter of fact, according to Amazon, it's already been delivered on Thursday to the local post office box. The post office, on the other hand, seems confused about this because it's not in my post office box. So I'm not sure what's going on. I think Aqua Regia will also dissolve silver because it's so intense, but that will also be the silver chloride complex, I'm sure. Sounds interesting, Adam. I don't know about that, Zeoxio. I do know that my particular ore is like 30% dolomite. So no, there we'd have very high losses if you're using an acid leach. Yes, David, that's called direct electrowinning or electrowinning.
Ammonium polysulfide, is that toxic?
Have no idea. But yes, you can electroplate it out of solution. In theory, if you had cells at specific voltages, you might even be able to get a pretty good precision separation there, because below a certain voltage you'll be, I believe, plating out most of the non-precious metals, and then raise it a little bit. I think you get silver, and then raise it again, you get the gold. I'm not sure. It could be the reverse, but everything plates at particular voltages or higher, sort of thing. So I think you can do that.
Maybe have him email.
Yeah, I understand, sports. Go ahead and email me too. That'll keep reminding me a little better. I should be in town most of this week. I've only got 4 different projects going on locally. But anyhow, yeah, if you do that, and if you lose this, just go ahead and look at the beginning of most of the videos. And where it says to donate, you'll see that email too. Another interesting thing, yeah, Randy, yeah, the real small stuff in hard rock, it's usually really small. By the way, I got the plans off to Rick in Australia.
Okay.
You know what the cost of mailing a set of plans to Australia is?
No.
Well, the minimum is only about $15. No tracking, it'll get there on a boat.
Someday.
Yeah,
Someday.
in a couple of months.
Yeah.
If you send it priority mail, it should be less than 2 weeks. It's like 5 to 8 working days or whatever, and it's $50.
Ooh.
If you want to send it express mail, it's like 4 or 5 working days and $70. If you send it UPS, it's $150.
Oh, just for a
Man.
pile of paper, huh?
That's just for some paper. Absolutely.
Chlorination?
Can we harvest the positive healing energy of crystals to power wash plants? I don't think so, but if you can, let me know how.
Yeah.
Eva will be happy to.
No, you can't. You cannot do it to power wash plants. However, you can do it for a lot of other things.
So anyhow, yeah, thanks, sports. Again, I tend to get distracted. I got a million things going. I'm 65 years old, and I've got a right parietal lesion I can blame stuff on. Eva will tell you I'm scatterbrained.
Yeah.
I really am. So don't be afraid to poke me a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, that's about
Yeah?
right. Smack it hard
I don't know how much you can use piezoelectrics as a generator, though. That would be kind of tricky. I don't believe the silver chloride will precipitate in aqua region because of other factors, but I do not know. Chris, question to you. When and where does the silver precipitate when dissolved by aqua regia? Oh, yeah. Randy's absolutely
Yeah.
right. Always do a
Yep.
bunch of test pans.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Pan, and pan some more. Keep looking.
Hey, Bear,
What little one?
I found a book I can read free online called The Chemistry of Gold Extraction by John Marsden. Now, it is 651 pages. Therefore, it's going to take me a week or two.
Okay. Yep. We'll look for non-toxic leaching systems.
Doing it right now.
Oh, that sounds cool, Zioxio. So anyhow, let's see. Okay, little one. Sports. You got something to write with?
Yes, about that book.
Oh, wait a minute. Just tell it to me, and I'll type it in as a comment. Go ahead, slowly. The book.
Oh, okay. Let me get back to that page.
She's getting it.
Gotta check my bookmarks. The chemistry
The chemistry
of gold extraction
gold extraction.
by John Marsden. If you want to
Right.
read it for free online,
Just a second.
It's not going on there.
What is? Oh my God! I hate this stupid thing. Where else is it supposed to type except the only thing that I can type? The chemistry
of gold extraction,
of gold extraction,
second edition,
second edition.
John O. Marsden.
John O. Marsden.
And I found a link to read it free online at usakochan.net. So
Oh,
just
spell that one.
don't just put in the book title and Google it and look for Usako-chan. USAKOCHAN.net. Place where you can read all kinds
Oh
of
my
interesting
God! What is
stuff.
wrong with
Spell
it?
that. Can you make it more complicated?
No, I mean it's like, could you please just let me type in the only thing that can actually accept? Hello, enter. John O. Marsden, chemistry of gold. There you go.
And
Oh, man,
I found
Mr.
something
Lodak
else
beat
for
me.
you on the issue of eco-friendly gold leaching reagents.
Uh-huh.
Ex aurum.
Ex aurum.
Yes,
A-U-R-U-M.
yes, very good. He spells Latin.
A-U-R-U-M. Okay, and what is that? Just that's the name?
Yeah, that's the website. They have a product, application, cases, guides,
Latin for
etc.
gold.
It's China, of course.
But any technology we can steal from them, I'm for it.
Oh, you'd probably have to buy it from them.
David Reed
It's a
says
porn
that's David Reed says that's a porn link. Did you ever try this? Usakochan.net, little one?
Well, I got news for you. I'm sitting right on the website looking at the book.
USAKOCHAN.net, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So apparently they also have normal stuff.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So there's also something called Zorum, which I have no idea how good it is or whatever, but I suppose I ought to try it.
Oh, here's that new non-toxic method for mining gold, an inexpensive and environmentally benign method that uses simple cornstarch instead of cyanide to isolate gold from raw materials in a selective method.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Notice it's to isolate gold out of solution.
Here's another company.
And it won't do it in a cyanide solution, by the way.
Here's another company called CN-Free Reagent, eco-friendly gold leaching chemicals.
CN-free reagent is another one. Wow, message retracted. Geological, I don't know how he did that so much.
I don't know.
Yeah, Melinda, keep reminding me on that one too.
See,
You got pine sol.
And there's also one called Eco Goldex reagent that says it's low toxic.
Eco Gold Dex.
Yes, Eco Goldex.
CM3 scored.
CM3.
Yeah, it's free though. FREE. He's asking
C
the question.
as in Charlie, N as in Nancy,
CM free.
FREE as in no cyanide, I presume.
Yeah, that's the way I read that too.
Okay,
And I'm looking at something called Clean Earth Technologies, which I believe you're
that's
looking at.
the one in Australia. Yep,
Yeah, there you
Okay.
got it.
that,
Sport.
you got it. Sports.
Yeah, I would skip the Chinese one, but that's what I'm seeing in here.
Oh, I just want to steal something from the Chinese. Just
There's an article on gold leaching by organic-based polythionates.
all thionates, huh?
No freaking clue, but it's an NIH. It's actually published in all places on medical. On the NIH website.
Yeah, we really want something that somebody else has already done the research on. Really, Lars? Now, do they generally settle to the bottom of the pan, or do they come to the top of the pan? Because I've never panned for rattlesnakes before. I've shoveled for rattlesnakes, but it's usually more of an overhand motion. And I found out it does not work well on coarse rocks because the snakes tend to be in the cracks between the rocks, and the shovel hits the top of the rocks. It really didn't work well. But yeah, it was an interesting situation. That's the only time I've seen 4 rattlesnakes in one spot either. Those I think they call them blacktails over by Tucson, but they do show up in piles. One time years ago when I was would have been about 73, 74, I was out by Colossal Cave Road by Tucson, up on top of a little hill, and I saw a rattlesnake, so I was going to get it. And then once I had got that rattlesnake, when I stood up, I realized that the little bush that I had been squatting over to get that one also contained a rattlesnake. Luckily, that secondary rattlesnake was very timid, so it did not prevent my grandchildren from being born.
Yeah, there's like a zillion cornstarch articles.
Yeah, there's lots of cornstarch articles, and none of them are about dissolving the gold with cornstarch. Yep.
There's also a company called CN Light Reagent. CNLITE reagent.com.
There's one called CN Light also.
Yep. They have a whole section on
LITE.
thiosulfate, thiourea, halogens, gold recovery chemicals that they make.
Okay, so apparently this sports, listen up, CN Light, LITE. Eva says they have a number of different systems and reagents.
Yeah, they have a number of different articles on different systems, and they have their reagents.
Okay. Why did the prospector get kicked out of the pub? I have no idea. It's illegal to sell alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to lighten the mood a little.
Yep. Let's see. And ODG was the. How did you like that video we posted from Jim this week? Everything look good to you?
Yeah, hopefully you guys, I know a bunch of you got to see it.
And the geothermal closed loop thing from earlier, by the way,
Yeah.
is a way of getting energy.
Yeah.
But it's not very energy efficient.
No.
It's interesting.
You're a prospector. You're technically not a miner. You could be a miner. You know, MINOR. Now, if you were under 18 and a prospector, then you'd be a miner. An MINOR, MINER. So confusing. That particular location, Jim will, of probably be back at several times this season. Get some
Yeah,
more video.
I'll try to get some more, and I actually have more footage that we shot up there. And what I was thinking is I may just do an update to that video and add a lot more footage to it.
I know wash down at the Grizzly. Was there?
It's the design of the plant. You can't do it, Chris. An Alaskan style plant up there would be, but it's an expense that, he didn't want to, at this point, he's not going to make.
Wasn't necessary.
Really, no. Actually, Bryce's recovery is really good with what he's running, as long as it's not really, really muddy, which can happen at times with the amount of water coming through the bedrock and down where he's digging. But I'll try to do some more footage up there, because I had some footage where I showed the cut and kind of explained where you could see the differences in the different grade of rock and what he was taking for his pay zone. So we'll try to get some more on that. Yeah, there's enough muck on the rock, but the size of the rock and the gold size is pretty much the stuff that's getting into the trommel and being washed. So the bigger rock wasn't a huge concern. An Alaskan style plant up there would work out very well. And, maybe in the future, if he ever goes to a bigger plant, that would be something to look at.
Oh, and by the way, when we were out frolicking around, Eva and I, at those things last week, I noticed the steering was getting a little funky on the truck, and I found that the front suspension spring bushings, the rear bushings on the front springs, were worn out. We took it into the shop to see about getting those fixed. When they jacked it up, the right front wheel bearing had about an inch of play in it, so that was immediately repaired. It was pitted already, but it hadn't completely cratered. But yeah,
Got it in time. Yeah, Chris, that's always a concern, to have big losses on some of the the material that you're not getting washed. It's one of those situations, though, where you have to decide how much money, at what point do you say, I can't spend any more money till I make some? That's kind of that situation. Is, if you had plenty of money, yeah, you change out the wash plant and go different. But
the pay is in the clay, huh?
well, it can be in or the clay can carry it, so your rocks have gold smashed into the clay on them.
Okay, Dwight. We found an old report on an abandoned gold mine. The report claims the gold occurrence is located in a particular location. Can these types of analyses be trusted? Not absolutely, but quite often they're quite accurate. Who was the report written for? Investors or the company that was operating the mine? If it's written for the company, it's usually pretty good. If it's written for investors, take it with a packet of salt.
That's a good comment, Keith.
Yeah. Abandoned gold mines, can they be claimed? It doesn't matter if it's an abandoned gold mine or not. The question is, what is the land status that it is sitting on? If it is open for mineral exploration yet and does not have an active claim on it, it can be claimed. If it's an old patented claim, private property, withdrawn from mineral exploration or whatever, then the answer would be no. But absolutely, old mines are a good place to put a claim if it was a good mine. If you've got good data there, check the land status. Yeah, Melinda, I really want to try that because that sounds potentially interesting. Well, David, that was years ago. We got that fixed a long time ago. And yeah, got the tranny fixed, then it blew up again, then we got the tranny fixed again. Seems to be running okay now.
And don't even think about saying we need a different truck.
Ethan, I would agree with that completely. If it's made for investors, it's going to be worded as advantageously as legally possible, and sometimes even past that line. There are certain keywords that you look for, such as possibly, potentially, historically. That's a nice one. I like that one. The mines in the area. Who gives a damn what the other mine did? So there's little keywords that when you look at it, you can typically tell, was this for investors or for the mine itself? You know, an engineer come in and do an engineering report to try and guide production or whatever. But absolutely.
Old geological reports are good too.
Yeah, geological reports, especially from a government agency, when you have like the Bureau of Mines went to a mine and did some work on it. Those are usually pretty
good,
reliable.
Yeah, pretty good reports usually, if
Yeah.
you can find them.
What's the plan to get on the gold for next week? In my case, as soon as the stupid saw shows up, we have a couple of days that we can spare between doctor's appointments and things like that. We'll be heading out to Montana B to secure that lower decline. That is really sketchy right now because rocks could just fall on your head. So I need to get that done. But to do that, I need a saw so I can cut old timbers and put them in place to provide the security. Once I've got that, then I've got to go down and get some more samples. I'm also working out at the ranch, but nothing I've got at the ranch will work on Montana B. Just too fine a gold. Although I do like the idea of testing Melinda's concept and see what happens there. What are you doing?
I don't. This
You're
week
just
I'm
gonna-
waiting for phone calls and with geologists, and I don't know what I'm going to accomplish this week, to be honest.
Still getting jerked around by the feds.
I haven't heard much. We're checking on our permit because we're 14 months into this with no permit yet since we filed for it.
Yeah.
So I don't, that's putting a bad taste in our mouth at this
Yeah, well,
point.
good luck on that one.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that's
That may, yeah, I know.
gonna
We
change
know
until
that too.
administrations change. Yeah. There's a lot of, again, unfortunately, external circumstances that affect us all, and some of them specifically affect mining. Eva will have a tinfoil hat report tonight. Let's say my plan is to safe that lower decline, get down, get some more samples. None of the other things we've tested so far are better than Montana B. We are still waiting for results because the post office hasn't got the samples we shipped out 2 weeks ago to the assayer. It was sent priority mail 2 weeks ago. As of Sunday, he still had not got the samples.
Do you have a tracking number for it? Or?
My principal
with
may get
priority
around to
mail,
tracking
it
it.
should be a number.
Yeah. I'm sure
I
he
wouldn't
could.
go on your computer right
No.
now and let this thing go.
Well, I'm not going to go to the YouTube or anything. I'm just going to go to my email and see if the assayer actually got. I told him to send me an email when it shows up. And so I'm going to see if he gave me an email here and find out. But apparently the post office is really screwy right now. Let's see. Do we have
You're
anything?
too busy spying on people to do their job.
Come on. I'd like to view that. Thank you. One batch of samples. Your rolled up batch of samples in the priority bag that does not include the all you can pack them for one price rate. Really? Excuse me. Let me see what I got here. Oh. They should. Okay.
Those are for weighing.
Yeah, those certainly are for weighing. Okay.
Oh,
So that is the problem with that.
get the boxes.
Wrong envelopes, because there's priority and priority and priority, but they all just say priority apparently. Oh well. She said you could have stuffed the envelope samples in her envelope into a hard cardboard priority box, or put the whole bundle in padded bubble wrap priority envelope. Okay.
Lovely.
So apparently there's priority and priority. Thank you, Lawrence. I will rectify it tomorrow. So apparently it was my error in thinking that, priority mail meant priority mail. Rectify. Okay, so that's apparently our problem. So it just makes me wonder why they make life so freaking complicated.
That's how they make their money. Is keep
I've got 12
keep
different
it-
options that
keep
all
it-
have the same label on them. Drives me crazy. Oh well. Once your body breaks down to the point you can't get out in the field, you might as well back on cryptocurrency mining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a few people that now have $1,000 electric bills.
Mohammed, I'm going to try to get some more and some better footage if I can. I've got more footage, but I condensed that to send it to Keith to put on, and that was a major mistake that we will not make again.
Yeah, part of the issue, Muhammad and everyone else too, is say he's learning what works, what doesn't,
Yeah.
and how to do it. Did you ever get a camcorder?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I was searching
Okay.
a little today and doing some homework, and that's going to get handled this week, though.
Let's see. So anyhow, okay, so that explains why the samples haven't got there when they should have. Geez. Don't know why my Sawzall hasn't shown up. I've got other rigid tools, so I got the battery, so I get a rigid Sawzall.
It's the Pony Express, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, it was supposed to be. I say it says it's actually been delivered. It was so frustrating. It's like, excuse
I
me.
hope they didn't put it in the wrong box.
That's what I'm wondering is because they were supposed to put a key in my little mailbox.
I'll agree with that, Goldstream. It is kind of fun to see other people's operations and what they're doing and that kind of thing.
On
kind of compare.
please.
But in a lot of cases, and I've mentioned this before, I mean, a lot of plant designs are based on the material at that site. You kind of have to conform to the material you're trying to clean.
Yeah, everything.
So, a custom or a plant that you can just buy on the market already built may not fit the situation of the mining that you're going to be doing. It depends on the material.
Keith, your package will arrive Monday, June 7th. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
you got
Yeah.
another email that said, keep your
But,
package.
a definite thank you to Dirty Goat for letting me come up there and do some filming and spending time with everybody. I love going up there. and he's got a beautiful operation there. You know, it's a family operation, which makes it even that much kind of a neater deal.
Well, let's see what this says.
Yeah, Chris, but definitely, I mean, you have to know your material before you just go buy equipment. You know, if you can't, if a high banker will do it, then your plant design, ideally you want to test using the same type of equipment that you're going to use for mining to get the same recoveries. So if you're testing with a high banker, you're going to want a plant that's similar, like, you know, an Alaskan style wash plant that's similar to a giant high banker.
Yeah. Yeah, according to this, my saw was delivered on June 10th. See? Says delivered.
Well, they better track that down.
So I'm not sure to who, but apparently it's not to my P.O. box. Let's see, does it even
Oh,
have?
definitely. I think in a lot of cases as a miner,
Yeah.
because I know
There's the P.O.
my
box.
first wash plant, I fought with the grizzly, and I changed the grizzly. I would
there's
imagine
a problem.
I probably rebuilt the grizzly 5 times, tore it apart, cut it all
Says
apart with the
ship
cutting
with
torch,
UPS, sure
re-welded it, changed it, trying to come up with a better concept that didn't plug with rocks constantly. And eventually, the next upgrade to that plant is I took it and put it in the shop and spent about a month and a half completely disassembling the wash plant and setting it up as an Alaskan style plant where my 4-foot bucket on the excavator would fit into the box on the plant. I could dump, literally I could wash a 4-foot boulder. That way, all the rocks got washed, and the only rocks that didn't drop through the grizzly then I could pull off with the excavator bucket if I had to. If they didn't slide or vibrate off, I could just pull them off.
The final delivery typically provided by U.S. Postal Service. So apparently it's a hybrid.
Yeah, UPS short post wants to be a hybrid.
Yeah, so apparently my saw is in the cloud.
Yeah, you better talk to the post office tomorrow.
Well, neither one of us is a videographer. We're miners.
Right. Yeah. This is I don't know, trying to give you some entertainment as well, but we can use it as a teaching tool as well. And that's why I'm going to update that video with a lot more footage. And I'll show that as a second or updated version, because I did describe his pay zone, and it was really kind of evident when you looked at the profile of the rock and how it was embedded into the side. And when you have a cut face like he's got there, and hopefully I can do some more of those, because in a placer, you could see on the top, you could actually see where the old workings of the washed rock kind of were in a water ditch. And then he was quite a few feet below that where he was actually getting his pay from. So it was ground that the upper part of the ground had been worked, but none of the lower ground. It's all still virgin.
W0527. I'm writing down.
David, where are you talking? I think earlier you said maybe Colorado. Is that where you were?
Yeah, I'm not terribly mobile. It would be kind of complicated. Depending on the situation, I might be able to fly out or something to drive. What part of Colorado are you in? So I'd have to go over, through Wyoming to get to you. It'd be a lot of driving, and I'm pretty booked for this summer.
4 hours, give or take, depending on where he's at from here.
And so I say it would be a long drive. I mean, theoretically, I could fly over, look at something, and be flown back. But, you know, that would be on your dime, so to speak. Oh, really, Zeoxia? Well, that's pretty close to us. Let me know when you're over there. We might come up and say hi to you. It's about halfway twixt here and there.
Yeah, Basin's not that far from here.
Yeah, not bad. There's some claims I might want to put in at Basin while I'm in the area too. Talk to my principal. Oh. I think you're going to get more throughput on the wider mill. In my particular mill design, and that's all I can really give you much details on, the wider mill with the entrance in the front cover plate and the exit nearer the back cover plate gives a finer grind than if the exhaust was 100% of the width. But if you had an exhaust as wide as the chamber, I don't think so.
Looking at some major mining.
Yeah, some of my priority 2 targets were near Basin. Yep. Yeah, I say we can talk about it, David. Just email me and we can discuss details. There's there's a number of complications this summer in terms of prior commitments that would have to be worked around. Oh, little one, Basin has some cool honey-colored cubic barite crystals to collect also. I think you've got Eva hooked there, Zeoxio.
Where is Basin?
Chris, he's
It's
right.
the other side of.
He's right on the edge of what he get for water.
Remember,
It seems to be getting the recovery, but yeah, water.
Basin's up there.
It really should have, 600 gallons a minute or somewhere in that neighborhood.
And the barrage is just next to the road at Basin.
Really?
Yeah.
That
You got
means
Eva
take-
hooked
that
there,
means you're
Zeoxio.
taking me to Basin this week, right?
I don't know about this week. I'm not sure. He says this summer. I told him let us know when he said it over there, so we'll see what we can do. Can't afford a bigger pump yet. Yeah,
That's how it works.
yeah, Zeoxio. It's probably about half hour, 45 minutes for me. Oh, let's see, 7:30. When do we do the?
Just about now. You guys can finish
7:30?
talking about whatever you're talking about.
Okay.
Since
I
I'm
think we're-
trying to win a game here.
Okay, Chris, go ahead and you and Goldstream chat for just a minute there, defining parameters. Kind of waiting for Eva to finish her little something, then she's going to frolic on over here for the tinfoil hat
Well,
report.
let me go to the bathroom first.
But anyhow, it's so frustrating. Where's my damn saw? It says it was delivered Thursday. At least I've got a tracking number now, so I'll go to the post office and say, "Where is my damn saw?" Because I've got 2 different things being held up simply for the lack of the damn saw. Frustrating. Oh, 6-inch wide. How many gallon per hour should it be running?
6-inch wide wouldn't be that many gallons
Yeah.
per minute. you're only talking.
Yeah.
But on Dirty Goat's plant up there, he's running lean on water, but it's working. He's getting pretty good recoveries from what's happening. And I sat and played in the tailings quite a bit, and I couldn't find one speck of anything. So, not to say that there's not losses, but
Oh,
Mhm.
GPM moved gallon per hour. Yep.
Fly poop we need around here.
Anyhow, ready? Okay, I'll get out of the seat
I
here.
have donned the sacred helmet.
we'll turn it over here for you.
And the tinfoil hat goddess. shall
I
now
have
take her
donned my
throne.
sacred helmet. Hi, guys. Okay, so this week, there is some discussion that is swirling around in the media, to use a diplomatic term for the propagandists and apparatchiks, concerning one Tracy Stone hyphen Manning. Now, according to Jim here, this lady used to be the head of the Department of Environmental Quality under our former governor Bullock, who everybody calls Bullocks apparently. She has a long and storied career. She began her education getting a degree in journalism and media, of all things. And then she moved to Montana and went to Montana State and got a degree in environmental studies. And along the way, she got hooked up with a whole bunch of Earth First people. And back in the 90s, there.
I did for a second. Gave the first letter. Go ahead, little one.
Yeah,
How did you
back in the 90s, she got hooked up with an Earth First boyfriend. And according to the news and the court transcripts, he sent a very threatening and rather nasty letter to the United States Forest Service to tell them that some trees that were marked to be logged in Idaho had been spiked. Now, for those who don't know what tree spiking is, that's where you drive, in this case, 8 to 10 inch deep spikes at an angle into a tree so that the head of the spike is hidden by the bark. And when a logger is up there with his chainsaw, if he cuts into one of these hidden spikes, massive shrapnel flies everywhere. People have been killed. One guy had half his jaw sliced off when his chainsaw actually disassembled rather radically. He was lucky he only lost half his jaw. So at any rate, the feds cut a deal with this woman back then so that she would get full immunity from any prosecution for eco-terrorism and various other felonies in exchange for turning in her boyfriend. And her boyfriend served 17 months. Now, interestingly enough, I've read 4 different accounts of this woman's story that she told 4 different people at 4 different times. She likes to paint herself as an innocent party. She was intimidated by him. He had a shotgun. He threatened to kill people. He told her to mail the letter. She rented a typewriter because she knew her fingerprints were on it and she was afraid, etc., etc. Yeah, well, apparently, even though she claimed that she did not believe in Earth First's message because they were all about anger and not about solutions, which is what she told the confirmation people up here when she got her Montana job. That didn't stop her from having a couple of other Earth First boyfriends. That did not stop her from continuing to associate with Earth First, and she also worked for the National Wildlife Federation for a while. And now she is facing, as the so-called media say, a
very damaging grilling by the Republicans in the Senate on her confirmation, whereas we know the former president didn't have any of his people questioned at all. All his people were let into their political positions with no opposition whatsoever. Yeah. Well, that depends. But yeah, so we now have the most likely candidate for head of the Bureau of Land Management is a rabid, foaming at the mouth environmentalist who used to be an eco-terrorist, who's married to a guy that wrote an anti-agriculture book. What could possibly go wrong? Of course, the same government has put a proponent of critical race theory and the 1619 Project in charge of the government's offices for racial equity. So yeah, basically at this point, if this chick gets in, things are probably going to go from bad to worse, because while she was here in Montana, she supposedly walked a line of conciliation and supposedly, according to the so-called media, was responsible for bringing about bipartisan reforms that single-handedly saved a river by batting her eyelashes and all kinds of other things. I highly doubt that's the case if you talk to people on the ground. I don't know. Maybe Jim could say something about that. But yeah, that's the kind of person they're looking at to head BLM. As to BLM, they're now talking about maybe allowing nickel refining to happen in the United States. Wow, they're actually talking about allowing a nickel refinery. Yay! One refinery. That's a great start. I mean, that is a great start. Interesting news came out in lithium mining. Apparently, the Panda Patrol, with the help of a few Panda scientists that were trained in the United States, by the way, has supposedly developed an environmentally friendly and highly economical way to extract lithium from seawater that will result in lithium pure enough to make batteries and clean water for drinking. We shall see what goes on with that, but it's highly fascinating. I also saw a really cool article, apparently in the Happy Valley area in Victoria, Australia. They just did a couple of drill holes on a prospect, and one of those drill holes turned up 160 ounces to the ton, and there's a heck of a lot of tons. Gold. Yeah. And they showed pictures of these core samples, and ooh, they are so pretty. Tons of pyrites and nice large flakes of visible gold, and you can see the difference between the two in a quartz matrix. So anybody down there in the Happy Valley area might want to keep an eye on that project, because it looks like they're going to be doing some serious work down there. Granted, it was only 2 drill holes. Bear can attest as to whether 63.5 millimeter drill holes are a decent core size.
That's fairly standard for exploration. 63 millimeters.
But apparently their
2-inch.
Their assertions as
Fairly
to
normal.
the total tonnage here is the total tonnage, it is below a former historic mine, and the geological surveys and other fancy sciencey stuff indicated that the deposit extended below where the previous miners had gone, and it runs anywhere from 41 ounces to the ton to 160 ounces to the ton.
What's the intercept interval? It should have said over so many feet or meters or something.
I believe it was over 10 meters.
160 over 10 meters?
No, they did not. They did not put the over meters on the 160. They put 2 holes that were like 10 or 20 meters
No.
apart.
Whenever you get a grade like that, the intercept has both a grade and a distance on it.
Oh, I think that was the half a meter thing.
A half a meter at 160, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's a very,
Apparently
very good thing.
that whole Happy Valley area is a very large, contiguous, highly known and mapped structure that is going on there, but they're looking at bringing it a whole lot deeper than it was. which would be a good thing. In other news, as we all know, the inflation rate is still going up, and this is, according to the government, absolutely great news because that means that the economy is booming, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, mushroom cloud booming as far as I'm concerned. The Fed did lower their interest rates to 0% temporarily, but analysts are beginning to question when they're going to decide to start trying to throttle back on this inflation train because the stock market came very close to hitting another historic high, but there are zero fundamentals behind it. It's absolutely imaginary, just like coin and just like the dollar bill at the moment. So we can expect inflation to continue for a while. The futures market is looking hot and heavy and going near vertical on a lot of basic commodities. This is interesting because a lot of commodities, like somebody mentioned earlier, timber, the prices that are being paid to the people that have them have actually gone down over the last couple of months, while the futures market is saying that the sky is the limit. Prices for cattle, for instance, have gone down about 15% in the last month or so. And prices for timber apparently just dropped off by the time buying it from the loggers or from the people who own it has dropped by a good percentage as well. So a lot of the price pressure upward that we're seeing now may be due to supply chain bottlenecks at the processors in these various commodities, as opposed to a lack of product and a lack of people wanting to buy product. How much of that is due to COVID, and which is going to be going on for the foreseeable future, and how much of it is due to people taking advantage of an opportunity to set a new normal for prices is something we don't know yet. That's only going to play out over time. In related news concerning everyone's favorite pandemic, yeah, the VAERS report on the,
Did you verify that directly?
yeah, I can get on VAERS.
No, you can't. Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
the VAERS report is out, and the VAERS report on
Explain
That-
what VAERS stands for.
VAERS is
Vaccine
adverse
events reporting system.
reporting system.
Yep.
Okay, you can look it up online. And the VAERS is not looking too good in the vaccine department these days. Now, we're not going to speculate as to why the number of deaths from vaccines went from under 500 before last year to over 5,000 now. It obviously has absolutely nothing to do with everyone's favorite shot. But just to let you know, if you want to look at VAERS, it's very interesting stuff. And it applies to all medications, by the way. So if you happen to be having a doctor that wants you to have a shot or wants you to take a certain medication, any person can sign in and search through VAERS and see all of the adverse reports. There are different segments of VAERS, and one is for medications, one is for vaccines, and it will show you all the different types of adverse reactions that have been reported by doctors in the last year. And in the last month, you can filter it down months, years, historically, however you like. Like all government websites, it is a pain in the absolute tail to navigate. But it is a compendium of useful information. Unlike other government websites, where useful information that used to be found by the public is a lot harder for the public to find now. I was wandering around the Treasury website the other day, and a lot of the day-to-day monthly accounting records that I'm used to seeing and boggling over the numbers seem to be Stuff is also not there at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Stuff is not there at Fred. So we shall see if it ever shows up again. Fred has decided that we no longer need to see the M1, M0, or M2 money supply reports. So let us have a moment of silence. We will no longer know exactly how much money we have in circulation. It's no longer considered necessary for the public. I'm pretty sure a lot of other stuff is going to be unnecessary for the public very shortly. But in terms of how the current regulatory environment affects us, there was an interesting and rather ominous statement on the Bureau of Land Management about how the new nominee, well, first of all, Lord Malarkey is planning to give $1.6 whole billion to the BLM. Yay. I mean, that's a real windfall for them, okay? They're getting a whole $1.6 billion out of the $2 trillion or $4 trillion or $20 trillion or $6 trillion budgets that have been proposed that nobody has decided on yet.
How much does it cost to block a road?
Yeah, that's a good question. How much does it cost to block a road? According to their mission statement, they are very much looking forward to getting their new head, and they implied that she would be a marvelous change after the last person that they had to tolerate. If anyone doesn't remember him, the gentleman who was running BLM until Lord Malarkey got in office actually was bold enough to tell the Senate that he questioned whether the federal government had the right to own the public lands in the first place. In other words, he was a constitutionalist. Ooh, no wonder they didn't like him. They said with this new nominee coming in, she is likely to usher in historic blah blah and wonderful compromise blah blah between conservation, recreational public use, judicious and careful exploitation of our resources. We're going to save all of the water systems in the United States. There's a huge focus on expanding our green power. In fact, BLM just approved a big brand new solar panel project in the California desert that is going to power 87,500 whole homes. Wow. I mean, in California, that's going to make a real difference. Okay, 160 grams per ton. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm so used to him talking to me in ounces per ton. I'm sorry about that, guys, but still 160 grams is darn good.
Yeah, that'd be about between 5 and 6 ounces
Yeah.
per ton.
And all the stuff I saw was over 41 grams. So, I mean, it's
That's
not
still
bad
pretty good,
deposit.
but not 160 ounces.
But anyway,
Thank you, Mohammed.
thank you, Mohammed. Yeah, they just approved a brand new solar panel excursion in the California desert again on public lands for 87,500 homes to be powered. And they're talking about expanding more of our public lands for this green energy, including, solar panels that are all built with foreign materials and most of them built in foreign countries, namely by the Panda Patrol and namely by people that don't want to build them. They're not doing this because they like to, and they're not doing it because they're being paid.
Oh, by the way, what was that report? Was it 150% or 100? I think it was 150 times increase in organ donations in China
Yeah.
since 2015.
That is one thing I will say. The Panda Patrol apparently is doing really good in the organ donor department. They got 150% or 100% increase in the number of organs donated in the last couple of years, which is amazing. I wish we could do that. We could clear our organ donation list really fast. But regardless, the BLM seems to be saying that they're going to use this $1.6 billion to save our water systems, to build more green power, and to expand recreational use, and they will allow limited and proper and balanced use of our public lands for agriculture, mining, ranching, etc.
By their definition.
By their definition. I was just getting to that there. So I would say that they're probably going to put mining at the very bottom of the list, which is not good news. And as Bear said earlier, it's been months and we haven't even seen the claim forms come back on some of the stuff we've done. So I would still keep filing the paperwork. I would file it in person if your office is open and they don't use the COVID excuse. Otherwise, just registered mail, return receipt requested, make sure you keep copies, get a tracking number, everything you can do to make sure they actually get it. In the middle of all this, BLM is relocating from Washington, D.C. to Boulder?
Grand Junction.
Colorado. Isn't that your hometown? Where you were
Yes,
born?
that's where I was born.
He was born in Grand Junction. Population 62,000 apparently. And all of the DC bureaucrats are extremely peeved that they're going to have to move. Well, so if we don't hear COVID as an excuse, we will probably hear moving offices as an excuse. I don't know how well that's going to go. Really don't. And yes, they are blocking off the lands. We have most definitely seen it. We've seen a lot of access issues that are coming up, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot more. Muhammad says, "What does a half a meter intercept mean, or is it too long and difficult to explain?"
No, it's very simple, Mohammed. If you have a drill hole going through the mountain and it hits, in this case, it's a vein. I'll simulate that. Here's the vein. As the drill hole goes through the vein, there will be a particular amount of drill core that has the vein in it or the mineralized material or whatever. Now, depending upon what the angle of this is, it can change how much of an intercept you have. And that's hard to tell from the drill. So that's why they just say there was this much of the core that had this high grade material. Whenever you're getting drill results reported, it will be a grade over an intercept length. And when you have multiple drill holes, then they can get an idea of the orientation of the structure and get an idea of how thick the inferred structure is. But initially, it'll just be intercepts so long at such and such a grade, because that's all they can tell for sure.
So Goldstream, they're blocking off public lands in Canada too, huh? They claim they're going to be engaging in more activities to allow the public to use our lands recreationally. And I wouldn't say I believe them,
You can
because
if you walk.
there's been no real sign of it.
You don't have a carbon footprint then.
I mean,
So I can't wear my
they-
carbon fiber shoes?
they claim that they're opening up like certain lands, and they were talking about opening certain parts of Yellowstone, for instance, and certain parts of Yosemite for public recreation. Their definition of public recreation turned out to be little dirt paths about yay wide that are not wheelchair accessible, no bathrooms, no camping, no nothing. And so technically it's recreational. It's just recreational for hardcore hikers that are carrying their own poop bags, because it is against the law to poop in the national forest unless you do so in a toilet. So, their definitions are going to be different than ours.
So you got to hike your shit out, huh?
I actually have seen that recommended on various websites for states and federal parks, that if you happen to be remote camping and you are not carrying a porta potty like the one that I own, you are supposed to contain your excretions in an appropriate container and bring them out with you. Now, if anybody wants to know how to turn a 5-gallon bucket with a lid into a toilet, I do know how to do that. But I don't think you want to be carrying one of those when you're hiking and they smell. Yeah, David, I totally agree with you there. An electric impact in the truck for taking down the no access sign sounds like a good idea, Goldstream.
Well, battery powered angle grinder works well too.
Well, I will say at least BLM somewhat maintains their road better than the Forest Service does. Forest Service roads really stink. Nope, the bears don't have to pack out their excretions except for the one sitting next to me.
Well,
But
grammatically, that didn't sound good. It sounded like you were defining me as an excretion, except for bear.
you know what I mean.
I knew what you meant.
But frankly, yes, the expression "do bears poop in the woods?" I can testify. Bears definitely poop in the woods. You really trashed those signs? I wish I could get away with that.
You shouldn't put that in writing, Goldstream. And on Viva Fry, Barnes likes to say, "Always in cash, never in writing."
Yeah. It would not surprise me, Terry. Kevin, I would send them a bill too, but as I said, I, of course, have a portable toilet. And I can guarantee you that if I were hiking in such an area, I would have my portable toilet with me, and I can also guarantee you that Bear would be carrying it, but it doesn't smell.
It fits nicely in the Bago.
It fits nicely in the Bago.
Yeah, it seems to me like the regulatory environment is going to be as bad as our worst case scenario until something major changes here.
That is my thought as well. And when it comes to the price of gold, right now we are still hovering about 1900, and the pressure to break the 2000 barrier is definitely going up. Gold's been a little soft the last couple of weeks because some of the hedge funds are actually selling off not just their paper resources, but they're also some physical resources. But a really interesting thing happened in the Senate. A senator, and I forget his name, but he's a Republican. A senator has delivered a sternly worded letter to the Fed. He is pushing a bill to get our gold supply, our physical gold supply owned by our government, audited. As in actually weighed and checked for how pure it is and make sure it's all there. For those who may not be old enough to remember, way back in, I think it was 1971 or 73, Richard Nixon sealed Fort Knox. And
I
nobody
agree, Mr.
audited
Lodak.
the gold before they sealed Fort Knox. They just said, this is how much gold in Fort Knox, and they sealed it. The FedRes stores a lot of our gold, supposedly, as bars, bullion, and coins and other things in various Federal Reserve locations, the most common one being New York. We also store a lot of other countries' gold, supposedly, in New York. Some of those countries have tried to get it back, and for some reason, FedRes hasn't wanted to give it to them. But the interesting thing is, this senator is saying that his gold transparency bill, which is going to go absolutely nowhere, he's asking for a total and complete audit of all of the United States government's physical gold supplies. He is asking for a full
Tell you in a minute, Mohammed.
accounting from the Treasury as to how much of our gold is on loan to the International Monetary Fund and other countries. He is asking why we are loaning our gold to these other entities, and if we loaned it and we loaned the physical product, not an IOU, where did that physical product go? Which is a very, very good question. And of course, the Treasury and FedRes promptly
had a very massive cow. This is unpardonable. This is unquestionable. This is unthinkable. This is demeaning. There is absolutely no reason why we need to ever see or know how much physical gold we have or how pure it is, because obviously it's all there. They said so. There are growing cries from not just legislators, but bankers and other people to audit the Fed, first of all, because the Fed has never been audited ever. And secondly, to audit our physical gold supplies, in part because when other countries go to Fed Reserve New York, or when Texas went to Fed Reserve New York and said, well, hey, we want to take our gold bullion back and bring it into our country, Fed Res New York is in the habit of saying, we can't do that right now. And no, you can't come see it either. And nobody has seen Fort Knox since it was sealed. So it would be nice to find out what we actually own. I mean, this is a very valid, it's a very practical concern. It would also be nice to find out why the Federal Reserve is making back deal loans of physical gold to foreign entities and the International Monetary Fund, and what we get out of it. It would be nice to know what the Federal Reserve is actually doing, which nobody knows because they've never been audited. And I believe we'll probably see a trend over the next couple of years at least, putting more pressure on the idea of trying to hold the Fed accountable, because the Fed is absolutely unaccountable. And that, plus the growing inflation, plus the huge stock market bubble, plus the incredible number of naked shorts in stocks and in paper gold and paper silver, may start forcing the price of gold over that 2,000 threshold. And I've seen long-term projections for this year for everything from 2,000 to 5,000 an ounce. I have seen long-term projections that Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million a Bitcoin, which wouldn't surprise me, but I don't necessarily trust it. And this, I think that if this current booming economy and the inevitable consequences do anything, they may get us to a place where we can get some more accountability and we can find out what's actually going on. It would be nice. I mean, people need to know,
What did I just do with my glasses?
No, I don't think silver ever hit 30 an ounce. It came darn close a couple of times. And yes, David, I would say 5,000 an ounce is possible.
Yes, and silver got up to $55 an ounce in the early 80s.
No, I mean like right now.
Yeah.
In the early 80s, silver went crazy because we actually had a legitimate silver squeeze and it worked. So we have to try to get one of those going again. But basically, that's where we are. I'm going to keep an eye on the confirmation hearings for this lady. And see what happens there. And we shouldn't expect our Fed to become any more efficient about processing paperwork. But I expect that our Fed may become a lot more efficient about unprocessing paperwork, invalidating paperwork, and making on-the-spot inspections, because that's the kind of people they are. Yep. Gold and beef do have a fairly high correlation that goes on. be happy if silver hit 35 an ounce and stayed there. I'm far more a fan of silver than I am of gold because there's a whole lot more of it around, and it's something that's a lot more fungible because people understand what it's worth. I mean, somebody is more likely to take a mercury dime
Wall Street says
in
gold's gonna be worth
trade
as much as lumber
for
soon.
food or for goods than they are a tenth of a gram panda coin, because a tenth of a gram panda coin isn't something that people understand. People recognize a dime, people recognize a quarter, people recognize a silver dollar. And, you know, oh, and several states, Tennessee is talking about starting its own in state gold repository, which is very interesting. They are one of the many states that has, I believe, removed the sales tax from buying gold and silver. And they're talking about starting their own in-state repository for physical gold. Bear came up with a cool idea. Since states aren't allowed to coin money, Bear said, well, states could coin commemorative rounds that represent their state in gold or silver and sell those. And yeah, I mean, there's no reason why a state couldn't have a commemorative token.
That way there'd be a physical alternative to
And yes, they
paper
did
dollars.
everyone a favor, Argonaut. We need people like them right now, because if they were around, or a group of people like them were around to put enough of a squeeze, then the naked short situation in paper metals could not be hidden anymore. And the only thing that is practically keeping back the cost of silver and gold to a great extent is public perception, because if people own a piece of paper that says, I have a gold IRA, they think they have gold. If suddenly they found out that their piece of paper was just that there was no gold to back it up, first of all, we would see another rash of trading houses that were trading naked shorts shut down, which happened last year. We lost 6 or 7 of them. Second of all, it would bring to the public's attention the fact that the stock market is pretty darn imaginary right now, because naked shorts and stocks are just as bad as naked shorts with gold and silver. That if you want a precious metal, you should buy the physical product, and people would be demanding the physical product. And it's at that point that you have the entities that control the large amount of this physical product kind of between a rock and a hard place, because if they don't release it, then the price is going to go through the roof. If they do release it, the price is still going to go through the roof, and they don't have it anymore. And the only other option here is, well, we have to let people mine a lot more of it. And if things get adverse enough economically over time, then the government is also going to be looking at, we need to get the precious metals out of the ground. Of course, they're not going to be doing it in our favor. That is the one thing that worries me, because they're far more likely to lease that land for a pittance to their panda-loving friends or the Panda Patrol themselves, and then get a kickback of a percentage of the gold, and then we, the people, are having our public lands completely removed from our control. So there you have it in that regard. I do wish that we still had someone in charge of BLM that realized that the federal government has no damn right to own most of the West anyway. But we don't, so we're kind of stuck there. Anyway, I'm going to give it back to Bear now. And yes, Goldstream, people are moving from gold to Bitcoin as a store of value. I personally would not do it, but that's just me. And
I don't trust anything that can get vaporized
Yeah,
that easy.
As Bear says, I don't
Shut
trust
the lights
anything
off.
that if the lights go off, it goes poof. I mean, my problem with Bitcoin, my biggest problem with cryptocurrencies is if I get some cryptocurrency, I have to move it onto a hard wallet. Then there's really no place I can spend it around where I am. And even in big cities, the spending opportunities personally on the ground, locally, are not there. And we need to bring back local economy. We need to spend locally, not digitally.
Well, didn't the FBI also steal back a bunch of the?
Yeah, and the FBI got a secret key from somewhere and stood back and took back the ransom that was paid on that pipeline thing. Part of the ransom. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they got back the whole 75 million and they only declared 63 million and hid the other 12. But the question is, who gave them the secret key?
How did they get it?
Yeah, how did they get the key? Yeah, that would work, Mr. Wodak. My problem is I don't like electronic things because if you happen not to have electronic equipment, or you happen to be middle of nowhere where there's no internet, or you happen to not have electricity for an extended period of time, there really isn't much you can do. Yeah. Now, Mr. Lodak, my problem with that story, we seized the rental cloud server and pulled the private keys from a text file. Now, maybe a tinfoil hat goddess, but I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. But even I know, since I own a crypto wallet, that you never ever keep your private key known on the internet. You don't store it, especially on the same server with your currency itself. And my problem with that, I don't think the hackers were stupid. I don't think that's actually what happened. I'm not sure what happened, but I bear in mind that a whole lot of Bitcoin mining companies, like Happy Miner and quite a few others, and quite a few dozen that have disappeared, claimed they were hacked and all their Bitcoins were stolen from their hot wallet. And further investigation proved that it was actually an inside job.
You don't even
And-
have to break into the vault anymore.
Yes, I love Dogecoin Deoxio. Pay dirt.
Well, pay dirt is just,
Mhm.
panic pay dirt.
But that's the thing is, I want a form of currency that I can use locally, that everybody understands, that I don't need electricity for, that I don't need an internet for, that I don't need a Visa card for, so that there's no way to track it anyway. I want something that is based in reality. Yes, I have cryptocurrencies. Yes, I do believe they have a purpose. Yes, I think Ethereum is an amazing thing and highly underrated. I think a lot of the proof of stake altcoins and cryptos and tokens that are coming out have genuine real world applications and genuine real world value. Like Library actually had genuine real world value. But for day to day barter, day to day transactions at my local farmer's market, at my local supermarket, I want folding cash or coins, or in terms of barter with somebody, I want to be able to trade item A I have for item B they have. I don't want things that are tech dependent to be my
Store of wealth.
store of wealth. My store of wealth is physical stuff or an accepted, normal, fully understandable, and fully fungible thing like our current fiat currency, the US dollar. That is just my personal preference. As I said, I love cryptocurrencies. I have some cryptocurrencies. They're not what I depend on. It's like I love my veggies. Veggies are amazing. Veggies are wonderful.
I don't depend on them for nutrition because the minerals and vitamins in them are not that bioavailable, and a lot of them don't agree with my tummy. So, you know, I mean, that's just the thing. And I would agree, David. I am a fan.
Anyhow, Mohammed had a question I need to answer.
Okay, well, I gotta go because Mohammed has a question, but yeah, I have heard that the hacking companies, the hackers pay bounties, but I think the hackers are smart enough to protect their stolen wealth. Good night, guys.
Oh. Anyhow, Mr. Lodak says bye. Now, Mohammed, let me zip back here. And Goldstream was very helpful there for Mohammed. Okay, Mohammed apparently was looking up on the internet the references that Eva came with in Canada there. 11.10 meters at 160.45 gram per ton gold from 190.4 meter down hole. Okay, what that means is there was a total intercept of 11.10 meters. It averaged 160.45 grams per ton over that 11 meters. That's why it's so many meters at such and such a grade from 190.4 meter downhole, including 0.6 meters at 2,430 grams per ton from 190.4 meters, and 3 meters at 126 grams per ton from 198 meters. So you have a total intercept of 11 meters at 160 meters down the hole. You have a drill hole and 160 meters down. It went through 11 meters, averaging 160 grams. Okay. Now it says including 0.6 meters at 2,460 from 190. Now you'll notice 190, 160, that's 30 meters different. The grammar here is a little confusing because it says 11 meters including this and that. Doesn't, let's see, 190, sorry, there's so many numbers here. 11 meters, if you start at 190, the first 0.6 meters apparently was running 2,400 grams per ton, or about 78 ounces per ton, a half a meter. And then if you continue through that 11 meters, there was also 3 meters of that 11 meters that was running 126 grams per ton. And that 3 meters was at 198.5 meters down the hole. So at 190 meters down this hole, they hit 2,400 grams per ton, 78 ounces per ton material for about a half a meter. Then over the next, from the start of the mineralization to the end of the intercept that they were talking about, which was 11 meters, 11.1 meters thick, they also hit 3 meters running 126 grams per ton. And let's say the overall of that 11 meters was 160 grams per ton. So that's what they're saying. There's 30 feet of rock, of which 1.5 feet of it is running 78 ounces per ton, but that total 30 feet is running 160, 160 divided by 31, averaging That doesn't make sense. I hate this calculator.
160.
160 divided by 31. 5.16 ounces per ton over a 30-foot intercept. Now that's a lot of gold. That's a heck of a nice intercept. Many mines never get anything like that. But that's only one intercept on one drill hole. So the question is, the drill holes, they now punch around that one, which would be the standard procedure. What do they intercept? But that's how it will be reported. So many feet or meters at such and such a grade. That's a very good example, Mohammed. So thank you for looking that up. Also, thank you for correcting Evo on that one. Let's go to the bottom of everything now. Yeah, I'd take that rock all day long. How the hell could that be bad boom infusion of cash? I'm not sure what you mean by that, David. Throwing a bunch of cash into the economy makes weird things happen, one of which is inflation. But also, the way they're putting the money in the economy right now by extending these unemployment benefits and enhancing them, people are getting paid more money to do nothing than to work. That means stuff is not getting done. That means stuff is not getting made. So you got more money, less stuff, just the perfect storm for inflation. So anyhow, I agree, Goldstream. The question is, what is the surrounding drilling? And was that just one hole out of a number that they drilled?
They said they did two. and
They
they're
did.
doing more.
They did 2 holes. Was there any results from the other hole?
I believe so.
Okay.
I do not remember what they were. It's not a very detailed report in my point of view.
Yeah.
They're calling it a prospect right now, but
Well,
they
it's
said
probably
they're
a-
going to do more.
Yeah, it may have been a news release for raising
Yeah, it was
more
a
funding.
press release.
Yeah.
You know, that's typical in the mining industry.
And then there's something called step out drilling and infill drilling. Let's suppose you have, and we're looking down on top, you have 2 holes here, okay? And they both hit ore. Well, you have no idea how big the ore body is at this point. So you put a hole in the middle, that's infill drilling. Then you also have step out holes around these to go out until you hit waste. And you may actually have to drill deeper if you're still, as the technical term would be, bottoming the hole in ore. In other words, the last sample you took out of that hole was still ore. Well, you're going to have no idea how deep it goes.
Then they go deeper. Then they,
So-
if they can.
Yeah. So then you just have to keep moving out till you run out of ore on the perimeter, both sides and bottom, and you infill between the holes to get sufficient data to allow the programs to give you good statistics, good reliability of their estimates. So that's what you would do. Now, Goldstream brings up a good point. Yes, they always publish their best results.
Yep.
If they do 100 holes and they have 2 that really hit the good stuff, we did 10,000 feet of drilling of which the best intercepts were, and that's all you're going to hear. You're not going to hear necessarily a detailed analysis of the rest of the 100 holes.
Say the fact
you know?
that district is extremely well known and the geological body has been well studied gives me some hope.
Yeah, but Zioxio, at 190 meters down, a 30-foot intercept running 5 ounces to the ton would be hard not to be mined profitably if it has any extent.
Yeah, right.
But that's exactly the calculations they have to do. Yeah, David, the mining is generally a losing business. Most mines don't make a profit. Most prospects never become a mine. So the key is to know when to fold them. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a big gamble. It usually doesn't pay off. And to use the gambler analogy, when you've got a bad hand, you just fold. Minimize your losses. Fold, fold, fold. When you've got a good hand, then you invest.
Yep,
then you put
bet,
the money
then you
in
bet
there.
big.
Yep. Yeah, Goldstream, most of it's by junior miners. Another interesting thing, too, is again, there was no indication from anything I've heard so far, although there might be in the press release, what the orientation of that structure is. If it was a near vertical vein, let's say it was 80 degrees like Montana B is, and they drove a vertical drill hole through it, and you had a 30-foot intercept, well, it's probably only about 5 feet thick.
Yeah, the intercept could be nothing.
Yeah. And so that's where you have to have multiple intercepts to give you the angle of the ore body, to give you the intercept angle, so you can get the true
They can
thickness.
literally build a 3D model of the ore body itself once they've got enough intercepts into it.
Yeah, Chris says smart money spends their money on more drilling before developing anything, even if it looks that good. Because if it is that good, you're going to want the drilling anyway to get you the most efficient model for mining. If it's that big, you need a whole different mining plan than if it's small. You don't want to start with a small mine and then throw all that away to put in a bigger mine.
Right.
So if it's that good, the drilling will pay for itself in the long run in maximum efficiency of overall life cycle. If it isn't that good, the drilling will pay for itself by showing you it ain't that good, and you can walk away a lot cheaper. Drilling is a lot cheaper than infrastructure. Yep.
Good subject.
Well, of course, the junior mining companies only tend to look for the good stuff, and that's another trick. They will drill the good stuff and they will stop. If they think they're on the ore waste boundary and the last hole is in ore, they don't want to drill that hole out in the waste, because now in their prospectus, they can say open at width. Now it's no longer open at width. It's now defined. So they want to avoid drilling. And likewise, if they've gone through a lot of ore and they're still in ore at the bottom of the hole, if this isn't drilling designed to get the final pit plan, they won't re-drill that hole, not unless they think it goes a lot deeper, because they don't want to bottom the hole in waste. And again, put a limit so that when they're prospecting, we have defined a geological reserve of 356,000 tons at 5 ounces per ton, open at depth, open at strike. That sounds a lot better than we've defined 356,000 tons at 5 ounces and it's closed in all directions. We know what the total is. See how it doesn't sound as good? Exactly. I'm not too familiar with the downhole physics part. We didn't do any of that when I was mining, Chris, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting things they could do now that they couldn't. So let's say you want to mine for the love of it and don't want to sell. Look for a small, high-grade mine.
Yep.
Simple.
Yep.
They
exist.
They do. They're out there. And small, high-grade mines, the big companies are not interested in.
Right.
They want big mines. Doesn't matter if it's low or high-grade as long as it's profitable. But they want a lot of tonnage.
Exactly.
A lot of ounces in the ground.
Big value.
Yeah. And, if I could mine 1 ton of ore per day at 1 ounce per ton for 10,000 days, I'd be a happy camper. That's going to finish off my life. 1 ton per day, let's say optimal.
Yeah.
a
Yeah, you could be
3 foot
varying.
wide vein. Okay, so we got, I said 10,000 tons. 10,000, well, let's see. I'm 60 years old. Say I live to be 90. That's 30 years times 365 days. That's pretty good, 10,950. So 10,000 tons is what we're looking at 1 ounce per ton recoverable gold. So if we got a cubic yard is basically 2 tons. So I need 5,000 cubic yards. And if it was 100 feet, 100 yards long and 150 feet deep, that would be the rest of my life at, 1 ounce per day right there.
No, for
And
a 2-man operation or something, if you had somewhere between half an ounce of free milling gold per ton and a 1 ounce, you could have a pretty profitable small operation. And I'll disagree with Zioxio there as far as you're going to have a bonding requirement if you're on Forest Service or even if you're on private land here in Montana, but that's not going to be the deterrent to not mining it. If it's rich enough or profitable enough, I guess, even on a small scale, it's gold. And Keith is looking for that as much as I am. We're out. That's what we're doing, is trying to find small properties that the big mining companies most of the time wouldn't be interested in.
And another thing is, say Zioxio, if you work for a big mining company, you might keep a list of those properties which are very interesting, but just way too small for the big
Right, they
boys
walk away from.
for
Yep.
when you retire.
Yep.
Yep.
Learn that data.
All we need is 1 ounce per day, placer or hard rock.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Usually the
Actually,
hard rock will run higher grades.
I mean, placer could be in grams. It just depends on, your investment structure as far as equipment and, at what size.
Well, I have 10,000 in savings for your smallest minimum bond. Well, see,
Yeah, but
Zioxio,
Zioxio, your insurance company can bond $10,000 for $1,000. So it's not the end of the world. That sometimes the bank will even do it on a letter of credit. That's the way we used to do it. Do a $10,000 letter of credit, irrevocable letter of credit from the bank. There's the bond, and the bank will charge you a couple $100 a year to have that bond floating.
Argonaut says, is timbering a mine guesswork, experience, or is there a method to the madness?
There is a method.
Yeah, there is a method. There is some experience and guesswork, but there's calculations and stuff like that can be done. In the case of something like with me, small sort of thing, it's like just make sure there's plenty of ground support.
You're safe.
And don't worry too much about it. That's what we're here for, Zioxio.
Yeah, Zioxio, your insurance company might write the bond, and there's bond writers too, but you can get a $10,000 bond most of the time for $1,000. And then it may be $1,000 a year to continue it, the second year, third year, fourth year. But you don't necessarily have to cash bond it at $10,000.
Yeah, and it depends on what you're doing. For example, if you're not doing any surface disturbance, if you were like mining it, hauling it off to private property, you don't need a bond because there's zero surface disturbance, depending on how it works out.
There are bail bonds too, never say more.
Okay, so Sports has actually used a Shaw backpack drill. He's had good experiences with it. I know someone who bought a Shaw backpack drill, had a bad experience because he didn't understand you have to collar the hole in solid rock. You can't go through dirt. You can't go through rotten rock. You've got to have a reasonably solid rock to start that drill hole with a little backpack drill. But yeah, so he was not happy for his application because he couldn't collar the holes. But it's nice to know that it worked well for what you were doing, Sports. Thank you. I prefer just buying gold and silver.
Wow, that's funny. California legislature approves a $100 million plan to save struggling legal marijuana industry.
Apparently, in California, the legal marijuana industry is struggling. My guess is because the illegal one sells it cheaper. Just a guess.
Yes, it
You
says
think?
continues to struggle with the large illicit market nearly 5 years after voters approved sales.
Because we can put a gazillion dollars of tax on something and nobody will ever avoid the tax. Even in New York City, they have a significant illegal cigarette sales.
Yep.
Because it's, I don't know what it is, like $20 a
Well,
pack or something. I'm not sure.
The Seneca Indians up on the reservation, they bring them down and sell them by that truckload
Yeah, it's
with no tax.
Yep.
Well, you get the price or the tax pushed up high enough. Guess what? I mean, that's how you got
it's
the
called motivation.
the whiskey runners and everything else. Yeah,
Okay, Sports says he was getting 4 feet per hour in Gabbro. Gabbro is going to be a pretty strong rock.
Yep. No, some of those
Like granite.
Basalt. Drills work very, very good.
Yeah. Might,
that is the neat thing about the backpack drill. There is, yeah, it's a minimum amount of water. You're not going through hundreds of gallons of water trying to get a drill hole in the ground.
my problem is a lot of stuff I want to do is underground.
Well, you can use it underground.
So I would have not a gasoline powered drill.
Well, no, but you can buy it. They make an electric drill that's big enough. It can take the torque of that 1 inch or 1.25 inch core. And that's the big thing there. You have to have a drill that'll handle the torque load that you're putting on.
You could modify it. I wouldn't be surprised if Shaw didn't have that modification. They might have that as an option, but I'm not sure.
There's an industrial drill that you can get and replace the gas.
Yeah.
There is a. I don't know if Shaw actually has it, but there is a conversion there.
See, what I'd like to do down in Montana B is do some drilling. As I say, I've got some stuff that's not necessarily open at depth, but it's not completely gone either. There's a structure where it's discontinuous, but you've got a definite layer there that it's working on. So if you, and we could go like theoretically on that 40-foot level where it goes past that area, get out there and punch holes down and see what's ahead of there, maybe get some ideas. And I say that's, it could be very, very useful. When I was working underground, they just used to do what they call long hole drilling ahead of us to drain the sandstone.
Yep.
And it was just small diameter rotary drilling. They'd have a 2 carbide drill bit, and I don't know, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches steel, somewhere around there.
Yep.
And they punched 500-foot holes through that sandstone, but they weren't getting any samples. Everybody's washing it out.
Drilling.
Yeah. Hello, hey, Coulter. You made any progress on your magnetic separation of hematite? That's likely to be a big issue on this Montana B. So have you got any good news to report to me? I'm very, very curious because that gold is really, really fine. And it seems to be in the iron oxides. Man, there's such delays here. He's probably typing feverishly. So yeah, Coulter, how's it going? Oh man, so now Shaw drills are real turkeys, huh? Oh my goodness. Oh, I'd love to see you, Coulter. Absolutely. If you got anything with you, that'd be way cool too. And when you say the 10th, since it's the 14th, I'm guessing that would be July 10th. So we're going to be here somewhere. We can certainly arrange things to meet you. If you got something interesting, we could try it on some more. If not, I could give you some more to take home with you to try it on. Yeah, some finely pulverized stuff. But you betcha. I'm very, very curious on that. If we can get a good concentrate, life would be sweet. It would be nice in this particular area if we could mine during the summer, concentrate during the summer, haul the concentrate to the ranch, and then in the winter, in the building, set up a processing facility and do that over the winter. That would work out very, very nicely if we could. They said your friend continued below? Okay, I know you got another one coming up here. I don't believe mining magnets has a magnetized sluice. I have one.
He's got a neat separator though.
Yeah, I tried the separator on this ore, the wet separator you sent me. Doesn't work worth a crap on this ore. There you go. Thank you, mining. That's
pretty
sweet.
cool to see and try.
Yeah, because if that works, that could be a big game changer for me. Absolutely. So we shall see what we shall see. Yeah, I'd love to see you. Yep. So that's one of the things with this ore, because it's only running, depending upon the ore, 20 to 33% iron oxide. But the higher the iron oxide, the higher the gold too. $33F, huh? That'd be awfully hard to achieve in the summertime.
Freezer somewhere.
We might be able to stockpile it, basically mine during the summer and stockpile, and then concentrate when the weather's cool enough that in the middle of the night it's 33 degrees. No problem, mining. We have a lot more than that available.
A gallon you could put in the freezer. Yes.
Yeah, you can put a gallon in a freezer to test it,
Nice
sure.
pail full.
Yeah. In terms of the tailings, we're thinking of essentially potentially in situ disposal, in other words, right back into the mine, especially possibly cementing them to some extent, and go from there. We also have a patented claim to do testing on, where we can just be filling an old mine shaft. It's already collapsed and it's flooded too and stuff, so access is pretty much gone anyhow. And we could dump in there for a couple of 100 tons before we ran out. So, I say, we have plenty of capacity for this summer, no problem. I don't expect too much production this summer. There's so much preparation work to do and getting ready for extraction. You know, the entire extraction process has to be defined and built. So there's a lot of things to do. Zeoxio, theoretically, not terribly. In reality, who knows what the feds want now? I'm guessing, and this is my guess, you're not going to get any. What do you call that? Plan of operations.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see a single plan of operation approved this year. Not one. That's my guess. So you have to keep it below that. And
Well,
when you're
you
in
could
the
take out-
insignificant disturbance, you don't need an environmental
Well,
impact statement.
No, if you stay under an exploration license, you can take out 200 tons or something like that before you even have to do a mine plan.
You know,
So your exploration license for a small operation would actually sustain you for a couple years maybe without an issue.
so the idea is to keep it all
Because you're
underground.
still trying to identify the zone, check the ore testing.
If it actually becomes big enough, then I presume there would be an environmental impact statement. Again,
The size matters.
it all depends on the regulatory environment too. I don't see what I can see at this mine adding up to more than a few hundred tons. Okay.
Right.
But it could extend to depth. It could be a huge mine for all we know. That's part of the fun of this game. But I do not know. And that's, again, if you have one administration, environmental impact statement may be pretty easy. Another one, it's impossible. So how can I tell you what the cost is going to be? Yeah. Absolutely, Goldstream. That's exactly what happens. Underground working is going to have an impact on groundwater quality if there's any groundwater. There's no groundwater. Yeah. And this thing, it's a totally dry mine, so not an issue. I say that's problems for the future. One of the things that we're doing is developing the technology and the equipment and everything so we can work wherever there's something to work and where permission could be obtained to work. Highly portable. For example, even I moved my processing equipment from inside the shed building it had been stored at over the winter, dismantled it, carried it by hand around the building, leveled a sufficient area by hand, and had it installed and apparently ready to go in less than 4 hours. Okay, that's my entire mill just moved in 4 hours. Yeah. Dry all year, Zeoxio. No water in there. Yep. And that's one reason I really haven't been too quick to show my trip concentrator is for that same reason, because people will sit there and knock it off, and I'd rather be ready to rock and roll. I know it's really frustrating for you guys not to see what my concentrator looks like, but that's why. Hey, David Reed, I understand that running out of beer, so you got to go to sleep. But the mowing hay all day doesn't sound like much fun. Hope you got a good stereo in the tractor.
Thanks for being here, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. What time is it? 9 o'clock. Yeah, we're up on 3 hours already. Yeah. But yeah, Zeoxio, there's no water in Montana B. It's on a ridge above the water table. No problems. In the long run, yeah, you'd have to permit. A lot of it would be, there's some areas we'd like to stiff up the roads to. I could think of 3 spots where, gosh, it'd be nice to just do a little road work. But again, that would probably require some kind of permit.
Bonded. Yeah, they'll make you bond it to fix it.
Yeah, there's an old dozer road there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But the minute you fix it, the 4-wheelers continually show up. But
Yeah, Zeoxio, it's not just you can't protect them from the Chinese, but a patent, first of all, it doesn't protect you. It allows you to attack someone who's copying your design. You now have the legal right to sue them and theoretically win. But that means you have to act. It's not something like you go to the cops and say, hey, somebody stole my stuff, go get it. No, that's not how it works. You have to file a court action, prove your case, get damages. I mean, suppose they don't have any money. Well, how are you going to pay for your lawyer and stuff? Yep. It's not technically so expensive if you do it yourself, the Oxio. There's a book, Patent It Yourself by Nolo Press, companion volume, drawing patent, how to make patent drawings, which was about $35. The fees are about $500 is all. The main thing is usually have an expert make the application for you, and that's what's not cheap. But actually, the paperwork, etc., isn't that difficult. I mean, in terms of money. My concentrator sucks at Montana B, Jimmy. Like 20% recovery. That gold is just super duper hooper fine. It might work okay on Montana M, but the grades there are so low that it's probably not going to be profitable. We're going to do some testing and see if the amount of coarser gold that's hard to assay is sufficient to increase the overall grade high enough to make it worth considering. And also we're doing a lot of planning for the future. We're looking at things like regulatory environment improving and price of gold and silver improving in the future, simply because we don't think it can possibly stay at the current status for very long without, dramatic changes. Now that could be, civil war and nobody's worried about anything, all the way to, throw the rascals out, change the rules. But there's going to be big changes in the next few years, in my opinion. If they go the way we'd like them to, then we're trying to get ourselves set up to jump on it at that time. Yeah, I agree, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, having somebody rip you off and come to market first with the marketing and everything, that would suck. Absolutely. So, I say, we shall see what we shall see. The one thing is, if you did invent it, they can't patent it and take it from you. They can just outproduce you and outmarket you. I don't believe in Montana B there's any of that. Supposedly at Montana M there is some garnet, but I'm not sure. We haven't found any substantial amount. I know you found garnet.
I get garnet in a lot of stuff.
How about zircon or monzonite?
I don't think so.
So that's the answer as we know it.
Scheelite, we get a lot of scheelite in some of that placer stuff. That's a bitch to separate from that fine gold.
Are you stockpiling it?
No, I was throwing it because it wasn't enough to add up to. I think a minimum unit of scheelite's like 44 pounds or something like that, because they buy it by the unit actually, and it will take years to get to that point.
Okay.
Oh, we might have some lines of scheelite.
Hello, William. How's it going?
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, lots of hematite mining, and the electron microscope study showed the gold is in the magnetite. It's superfine gold not necessarily magnetite. The electron microscope cannot differentiate between different iron oxides. There's presumably some magnetite. There's presumably hematite. I know some of this stuff looks like limonite, but there appears to be some red ochre, also which form of hematite. So there's lots of iron oxides, and there may be some magnetite. The particular test we did cannot differentiate. I know when we did the magnetic separation at Montana Tech, they were using, what was it, 20,000 Gauss, was it? Or
Yeah,
whatever
it
it
was
was.
20,000.
Okay. Now this stuff was, I think, screened to 50 or 60 mesh, and this was the non-magnetics, this was the magnetics. And it was a typical belt magnetic conveyor sort of thing.
Separator,
Yeah, separator. So there's clearly something in there of sufficient magnetism to respond to that. Don't know anything else. Yeah, the limonite itself should have showed up on the electron microscope if there was sufficient quantities, because it's doing essentially an elemental analysis with the probe, and so the sulfur of the sulfate, radical should have shown up, I believe, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a pretty nasty complex ore in that way, but in terms of other stuff, it's like 30% dolomite, 30% quartz, 20% iron oxide, and the rest miscellaneous. Those are just rough numbers, but that'll give you an idea. I mean, if we could get a 3-to-1 concentration cheap and easy and wind up with a powdered product that we could then leach, that would be cool. On the other hand, we may just have to leach everything. We may just take this stuff and stockpile it, and then in the winter just bulk leach it. We shall have to see. It's not X-ray diffraction. It's electron microscope. Different deal. It was a scanning electron microscope, EDM probe, basically, and then it was that has the team analysis.
Maybe. I don't know enough
I
about it.
don't think it would have done anything near the detail the other is. It's kind of like, I don't know, can you use a shovel or a little trowel, to move the stuff? Well, if you do the little trowel, you're going to see all the little pieces. You use a shovel, it just moves the big bunch. I don't think you get the resolution. What would be a good claim name for a quartz placer claim?
Whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, whatever you want. I'd call it the brown trout claim. You got some good brown trout over there. Yeah, it's whatever you want. Placer quartz would be an okay claim. Although I like to keep things a little more ambiguous so people don't know what the claim's got on it. No, I have not mining magnets. It's only running 1 ounce to the ton, roughly, head grade, plus or minus. To heat and quench, you're going to use a lot of energy for that. So, just mechanical impact. It breaks up really well. Yeah, it's the oxio, but the particle sizes are small. It's not a bulk sample, it's a crushed sample. I'm not selling any gold at this time, so I'm not enjoying the price rises. However, I'm encouraged by the price rises, and I think they're going to continue for the foreseeable future.
Good comment, Bryce.
So, okay, Jimmy, old dirty goat mine is
It's
taken.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy watching inflation rise because I got to pay for stuff. You know, I also don't like seeing people suffer, and it's going to create a lot of suffering. You know, Chris, that could work. I don't know what the volume would be. Spontaneous combustion. Oh, let's concentrate some of that. What could possibly go wrong? They're typically associated mining, but that's not. It's a correlation, not a causation. Inflation will generally drive the price of gold up because people are looking for a hedge against inflation. But it's, you know, the price of diesel fuel going up doesn't change the price of gold. And the whole situation with inflation is that everyone's going to have to pay more for everything, and that's not going to be helpful to them. Oh, Silver Star Mine, they used to have problems with spontaneous combustion of pyrrhotite, huh? Got that, Jimmy? Interesting. So, I think we're going to see inflation, absolutely, for a variety of reasons. But I don't think that's going to be good for hardly anybody. I'm going to get a glass of water. I don't know where my glass went. I'm dying of thirst. Dying, I tell you.
Probably not Goldstream. Started out in a little shed or the chicken coop or something.
Oh, it off gas is hydrogen sulfide.
Yeah, there you go.
Hydrogen sulfide is much worse than sulfuric acid. Hydrogen sulfide is actually as toxic as hydrogen cyanide, roughly. Sulfur dioxide is not as toxic as hydrogen sulfide. Thanks for stopping by, William.
Yep.
Whenever you have questions, come on by. That's what drives the conversation. Excuse me. So anyhow, could be Zeoxio, but hydrogen sulfide is also highly toxic. I forgot what it is, but it's lethal in parts per million. Here, let me get the Department of Homeland Security industry, Department of Homeland Security after me here. Lethal concentration.
Mining magnates wanted to know how big the gold pieces are in your 1 ounce per ton ore. They were like 2,000 mesh right there.
Yeah, they are. Well, let's see. I got a little chart over here. 80% past 6.8 microns. So that puts it right here. 2,500 mesh is 5 microns. 1,750 mesh is 8 microns. So just about 80% passing 2,000 mesh.
That's why it's tough.
Hydrogen sulfide is immediately fatal when concentrations are over 500 to 1,000 parts per million. So a half, 0.05 to 0.1%. Exposure to lower concentrations, such as 10 to 500 parts per million, can cause various respiratory symptoms.
Yeah.
Well, if lethal is 500, I presume something less than that would do something. Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
sulfuric acid in your lungs. I mean, your
No,
moisture.
I don't think it's the.
The moisture, would activate it in your lungs.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's turning to hydrogen sulfide. I think it's. I mean, to sulfuric acid. I think it's literally toxic. Exposure may affect multiple organs, causing temporary or permanent derangements of the nervous, cardiovascular, renal, hepatic, and hematological system. H2S has been referred to as a knockdown gas because inhalation of high concentrations can cause immediate loss of consciousness and death. See, that doesn't sound like if you inhaled acid, you wouldn't immediately die. It has to, affect your lungs and prevent the uptake, etc. Some guy been welding a large container used for the storage of sulfur compounds. Wow.
Well, thanks for being here, Terry.
Let's see. Hypotensive, high respiratory rate. Signs of ischemic cardiac injury, abnormal coagulation profile, renal insufficiency, slight leukocytis.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah, hydrogen sulfide sucks. Yeah, it's really bad stuff. Luckily, we don't get much of it. Yeah,
Just making comments on it.
yeah, and that's as Geological points out. Let me double check. You said parts per million. 500 to 1,000 parts per million is lethal, Chris. And as Zioxia says, when you first smell hydrogen sulfide, you can smell it, but if the concentration rises or you're in it for a while, your nose stops sensing it. So if you smell that rotten egg smell and then you don't, and there's not a good reason for that, get out. Okay? Oh, gee, Terry, I'm glad I'm not you. But yeah, you get a good rest if you can. Terry says good night, Eva.
Good night.
Good night. Sorry, Jeff. The gold is way too small for that to work. I say it's a 2,000 mesh. Even if you flattened it, you're still looking at 1,000 mesh, and now it's even floatier. You know? Yeah. You'll never know when you get into H2S. It's that fast. Well, I do have a meter that I can use whenever there's issues. So theoretically, as I start getting close, I'll notice it because you shouldn't see any H2S under normal conditions. If you see any, you should immediately go on orange alert, you know? Hey, Patrick, how's it going? Let me know when the plans show up because I'm guessing it may be a while, you know? Should be less than 2 weeks, though. How gold gets into magnetite? I think the magnetite actually precipitates the gold out of solution. So let me know, Chris or Geoxio. Rotting timbers are a major consideration in mines with lots of sulfur and water. Huh? I guess bacteria make it. NSA, New South Australia? I'm not sure. Yeah. That should be on that invoice we sent. If you can't pay that one way or another, I sent you an email with my address. You can send it that way. If there's something else you need, just email me and we'll work it out. No problem. Nova Scotia. Huh. NSA? Wow. That's a kind of a weird abbreviation. I would think NS. Well, Terry, I'm sorry for your friend. Say at least he died doing something important. You know, we do have wet mines here.
Yeah.
But none of the ones I'm working on are wet mines. So that makes it a lot easier because you can also get the sulfur eating up the oxygen. So you wind up with what they call damp. And so lack of oxygen doesn't have any kind of smell
taste
to it.
or nothing, you know.
Yeah, and that can be extremely subtle and get you quick.
That's why you get one of those meters. Do that.
Sounds good, Patrick. Yeah, Goldstream, well, come to Montana. I'll show you a dry mine. Okay, Jimmy, I'm going to put it on my list here. And you can always call me too. I should be in town most of the week. And evenings work fine for me in general. If I don't answer the phone, it's because either I left it on the desk, which usually happens only in the morning, or I'm out of comms. So just call a little later. Okay, I've got it on my notepad. See how much good that does, but it's the best I can do, Jimmy. I'm getting pretty sketchy here. The Goldstream, that's less than ideal.
It's a lot of water. I've been in some like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dry ones though. I mean, up where we're at in these copper projects, they're dry.
Well, if they have the elevation to work with, in other words, they always drive it slightly uphill.
Yeah, but the front caves in, then it acts as a dam.
Yep. I have never heard of dissolution and reduction of magnetite by bacteria. Iron sulfide, yes. Not magnetite's already pretty well oxidized. I'm not sure. I would think dissolving it. I mean, if you're reducing it, I think that would be an endothermic reaction. It would take energy, but I'm not sure. Well, that sucks, Chris. What happens if you don't make it to the next section?
Yeah, that sounds risky.
Yeah, Geoxio, that doesn't sound too stable. never heard of iron reducing bacteria. I've heard of iron oxidizing bacteria. How would they make energy out of reducing it? I'm not sure, Patrick. I don't do wet mines. Yeah.
So funny.
Anaerobic. They're using it as an oxygen source for something else, Chris? Is it illegal to pump water out of a mine for a wash plant? Not if you have the permit. It would depend on the quality of the water in the mine,
Yep.
and stuff like that. So you'd have to test the water in the mine to see if it's got heavy metals in it. Some mines will not. It will be good, clean water. If it is, then you can. It's just a large diameter well.
Right. Well, it's a discharge permit.
Yeah. What state and country? Well, Jim works here in Montana, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Geoxio,
He's in Montana.
probably in Montana. He's in Montana.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this thing, it's right in there that gets really, really irritated after a while. Man, that gets annoying. See how all those wrinkles form?
Yeah.
Look at the elbow itself.
That's looking good.
See? Almost normal.
It's almost back to.
Painful in here, though. Little wrinkles. Aluminum oxide shouldn't be too bad. Charged lodestone, that's easy to separate. Hematite, magnetite's easy. Iron, that's easy.
Yeah, EPA on Danwood, yeah.
Yeah,
that turned into a disaster.
if that had been a company, they'd have been out of business.
Yeah.
But the EPA, who cares?
Yeah, it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, Mr. Lodak, I agree. I got some powdered tungsten that'll drive him crazy because it's got the same density as gold. Once you mix it, that's it. It's a done deal. You cannot separate the two. Garnet, yeah, that's fairly. But yeah, and that's a good point here. Kevin says, run it through a settling pond and back into the mine. Yeah. Crushed barite, okay. How about some scheelite too while you're at it?
Well, we're trying to show the ways that this stuff can be mined and it can be done correctly, environmentally friendly on these placers and stuff, and it can be put back to bed looking in a natural state. Or in a lot of cases, some of these placers here were worked in the 1880s, 1890s, and there's such a disaster that anything you did in there would be actually an improvement if you attempted it. So you look at the placer mining kind of as a giant landscaping project is the way I look at it. You can make it whatever you want it to be when you put it back together.
bismuth and gallium. Why gallium? Isn't that a fairly light metal? Would be nice, Goldstream. The government is never responsible for anything. We are, because we pay for the government. So when they screw it up, we just get to pay more.
Right.
How toxic is gallium? Could you use it in place of mercury? Because at reasonable temperature, 100 degrees, it might make a good replacement for mercury. I think a lot of places where that's not hard to achieve. Damn it. That figures.
Yeah,
That
well,
would be too simple.
we're working that way.
Does eat aluminum for dinner?
Mm-hmm.
How about lunch? I mean, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's bloody hilarious to hand someone a tool made of gallium. Chris, I'm shocked, I tell you, that you have such a dark heart hiding in that cherubic face. That could be interesting underneath the hood.
Huh.
Apparently, everyone on the planet has seen gallium.
Evidently, I
I
must have missed something in my education somewhere along the line.
Oh, wow, man. I'm heartbroken.
These guys have all played with it, evidently.
Apparently so. We're just such hicks. We're out here in the sticks. Hicks in the sticks. That's us, man. All these fancy city folk and them college educated peoples. That's right. Yeah, I'm afraid so, mining.
Yeah, I'm with you, mining maggots there.
Hicks in the sticks. And you know what's funny? To people like us being called a hick or a redneck, it's like, oh, well, no big deal.
We're not offended.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. It amazes me how these people that go, we're tough enough for combat. But if you call me by the wrong pronoun, I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
Do you think the guy with the AK-47 is going to worry about your pronoun? I'm thinking not. Yep. Oh, wait a minute, Chris. You're too educated, edificated to be a hick like us.
Educated.
You, well, hell, you probably graduated high school. You know?
Well, some of us around here are educated.
Actually, she is. She went to Boston Latin School. How many students in Boston qualify for Boston Latin every year?
Who knows now that they've changed the rules?
I said then.
Then, if I remember rightly, 30 or 40,000 kids or more would take the test, and maybe 400 would get it.
So 400 out of 30,000. So let's see. 400. 0.013. Top 1%, basically. So, yeah, Eva went to Boston Latin School, where it's like the top 1% of students that actually test for it. A lot of students don't even bother. Yeah, she's pretty smart.
Well, sure. here's a headline that is not the beat.
What?
Olympic hopeful Shelby Houlihan blames burrito for positive steroid test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just thought you'd want to know.
Those steroid burritos, huh? What was that one, that Babylon Bee headline you came up with this morning? You recall?
Hold on a second, I will get it for you.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that gold stream.
I don't know. Zeoxy,
I have put mercury on aluminum though, and yeah, I get binds where you can't get any separation. Just
yeah,
by accident.
I've known mining engineers that were kind of stuck up. A fair number of them that had their heads up their ass. The good ones don't mind
No.
getting dirty,
No, the good ones want to be out in the field.
but there's not all of them are good ones. Oh, yeah. I even had a headline from the Babylon Bee a few days ago that was,
They have some good ones.
you know, what was it? Something like a severe shortage of conspiracy theories in the United States. They're all coming true.
Yeah. You're running out of them.
Here's one for you.
What?
Walmart now requires all shoppers to wear pants.
Huh?
Babylon Bee.
Wear pants?
Yes.
Not sure.
Apparently, you're not familiar with Walmart.
Oh,
The
Walmart.
headline from this morning
Yeah.
was
Hey, Terry.
CDC reports that enemies of
Oh,
CDC reports that Clinton's enemies have a suicide rate of 834%.
Yeah, they do.
yeah. Normally, yeah. That was right. Yeah, CDC reports Clinton enemies have a suicide rate 847% higher than the average population. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Oh.
Well, we all know the Babylon Bee is getting less and less satire, but they won their thing against the New York Times. The New York Times put out a full retraction.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, you live in clown world and the Babylon Bee is true.
Yeah, their predictions come true.
Yeah.
Well, the New York Times did an official retraction. It's probably on page 37, but it's an official retraction.
In the smallest possible type. Yep. Oh. We got any more mining questions out there? Any subjects or anything anyone wants to bring up? Zeoxia says Snopes is still fighting the Babylon Bee. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, Snopes is another thing altogether there.
Yeah. So anyhow, hopefully I'll have more stuff from the milling this week. Snopes is using flawed studies to say the Babylon Bee is doing harm and can't be identified as satire?
Yes.
Well, if they can't be identified as satire, we're in a very, very dangerous
that's why
world.
the New York Times had to print a retraction, Bear. The New York Times had to print a retraction because they claimed that the Babylon Bee was conspiracy theories and right-wing misinformation thinly disguised as satire.
I think I read that.
Well, the New York Times is left-wing theories, conspiracy theories, and fake news thinly disguised as news.
It makes a great birdcage liner.
So Snopes was claiming the Babylon Bee was not serious? Whoa. I'm shocked, I tell you. They're making things up at the Babylon Bee? Jeff says, do you know why 1 year you could rent your bond and the next you needed a cash bond?
I would think that would be an issue with government throwing hula hoops at you to keep you from mining.
Could also be just the size of the bond.
Maybe it
if
could,
was small enough.
it could be if it was, small enough value, but I'm guessing it was internal pressure, political pressure to, make everything updated to somebody else's standard. New person in the office, who knows?
It could also be that they wanted cash bonds because they get to hold the bond.
Oh,
right?
sure, yeah, they can collect interest on it.
I wonder if the
Yeah, if
government
it's
knows
cash.
that there's interest being collected on it, or if the
Well,
office was collecting the interest.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think he said they were on state property, so it would have been a state issue. That's the thing is, there's always a political twist to everything.
unfortunately, lately it's getting that way. Yeah. Oh, there was some interesting claims about some of the investigations going on, which, since did not come from official sources, I will not repeat. Um, but quite interesting. We shall see. Goldstream says, "You mean the bonds they don't want to
exactly.
see?"
Goldstream, yeah. The one they don't want to return to you a year or two down the road because there's a reason. They can think up a million reasons not to give you your money back.
And I wonder what the official records say, because if they tell you no, you can't get your bond back, and then they tell the government it was satisfied, chink, and then they just put it in their pocket, who would know?
Well, that's why you got to keep on them to get it. I don't know what the Canadian government's like up there, but I know here, it could be 2 or 3 years to get your bond back because they want a minimum to see green grass or vegetation on the site before they will honor, and make sure there's no erosion before they'll honor signing off your bond.
Yeah. Say it's all racket, and again, in my opinion, it's going to get vastly worse over the next few years. And I would recommend everyone try and, as much as possible, just keep it below the level of requiring official
Plan of
notification
operation.
or anything.
Some of it you have to. I mean, if you're really going to get serious about getting some gold out of the ground, you have to pursue it from that point.
Yeah. In case like what you've got going on over there, Jim, it's like
you can't.
you're not going to make any money until you can get the government. But I suspect it's going to be a couple of years before that's possible. Although I don't know. I mean, this whole situation is so bizarre and unprecedented.
Well,
I don't know how fast things are going to
We were
change.
really looking at seeing some major changes if Mr. T that got back in on one more term, but they were working in the right direction to get some of this for small miners, especially, kind of reclassified and cleaned up and streamlined. And of course, the way the election went, here we are right back to where we were.
Or worse.
Probably worse than
I'm
we
saying
were a number
worse.
of years ago. Yes.
How am I liking the weather? Below freezing last Friday and 95 degrees today. Actually, not problem. I enjoy the weather changing. I prefer the cool more than the hot, because in the cool I can always add layers and subtract them as needed. In the hot, there's only so much you can do to mitigate that. I was watching, what was it? Not Busted Knuckles. It was Vogus Prospecting, and he's out there, and it was hot. It was like 45 centigrade or something.
Yeah.
It's like, you're in water. Go down deeper. Yes, just get yourself soaked.
Fresh, cold, clean water.
Yep. I think we pretty much are at this point, Goldstream. I think it's a multinational plan, And we'll just have to see how things shake out in the long run. Well, that's nice, the Oxio. That might come in handy for me. He was in the creek, Terry. That was the thing. And he was saying it was going to be blistering hot and everything. It's like, just get really wet. It works. I don't know. I'm not sure what 45C is, but I've worked in 110 outside.
45 Celsius is pretty hot.
And you get enough water on you, it's not too bad. Oh my goodness. No, it's not year-round accessible.
No, we have the
No.
same panic. You have, as far as placer mining here, if you have a good season, you have about 150 days of season, and it could be as short as 120. So if you're going to make money on a big scale, you're looking at 120 days really is the number to use, as far as keeping the equipment operating.
Okay, so they have leeches in the water. Okay, that would be one reason, but I mean, I bet you I can filter the leeches out of a bucket of water and then pour it on my head. I haven't run into any ticks yet up here, Zeoxio. Been warned about them. Keep my eyes open. Haven't seen any yet. Yeah, I say he seems to be pretty cool. 53 equals 127, so 45 is probably 115, something like that. So yeah, I've worked in those temperatures before. If you get wet and it's not really, really high humidity, you're fine. I say wading in a creek, it wouldn't be that stressful, I wouldn't think. You certainly have to be careful. Yeah, I remember one time drilling on the north side of the Dulcina pit at Picacho, and the water truck was coming by about every half hour watering the road for dust control. And so as it was coming by,
Jump out of the truck and
no, I was using an air track drill. I literally just run over. It was less than 100 feet. I just run over, and he'd drive by me. I'd get soaked. For about 10 minutes, I'd be cold. For 10 minutes, I'd be feeling okay. For 10 minutes, I'd be hot. Then here he comes again.
Well, that'd be perfect.
Worked out okay. Yep. And so, yeah, I'm very familiar with high temperature. Typically, you drink about 2 gallons in a shift.
Yeah, I drink a lot of water.
Hey, Jane Munska. Yeah, sunscreen too. Although I didn't use it then.
Yeah,
Probably should have.
Up here at this elevation, it helps.
Yep. It's getting toward the end of the stream, Shane Monska. You have any particular questions or something? If so, better get them out, because we'll probably be hanging it up here pretty shortly. Had a lot of things to talk about today. Again, another good,
It was good. A good subject.
live stream. Kept moving around. Oh, Chris, why would that be? Well, Seahawksio, some people wear pants for a reason, and they're called bushes too.
Yeah, Pat, I started watching that video and I didn't finish, so I'll have to go back and finish it.
Yeah. Now, Eva also found out that even in Montana, they do have prickly pear cacti.
Oh, yeah.
So when you sit down it is a good idea to look carefully first because they're little dinky things, and they kind of hide in the grass, but not when you sit on them. Yep. Yeah, at least they got it in time, Chris. Pants are overrated. Not as far as I'm concerned.
Or me.
It was hot out. It was almost 70 degrees that day. Oh, whine,
The
Zeoxia.
world is not ready to see my legs in shorts, okay?
I'm not noticing hardly any flies,
We have a season.
mosquitoes, or anything at this point.
Now, there
we-
would be a season here
Yeah,
like black fly season.
we get the horse flies and deer flies, and they'll chew you up.
Yeah, I haven't run into
That'll
any
be
yet.
about the, I don't know, end of July, August.
Is that in the upper elevations or mid elevations?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Last night
I hate that everywhere.
I was actually out bear hunting last night because it was the last couple days here of black bear season, spring bear season, and we were getting bit by mosquitoes. We were up in the mountains pretty high. The mosquitoes were coming out. It was warm enough yesterday, evidently.
Yeah, so I'm not having too much trouble as of yet. Seen a few little housefly like things. That's about all.
Yeah.
There's some gnats down by the lake, but they don't seem to be the kind that really like to get in your eyes or anything. So, not bad so far. If it gets bad, we'll try and bring that up on the live stream when it's appropriate. Not so far. Oh,
You'd be running the excavator or something, and one of the horse flies would land on you and then take a chunk out of you, and you're in the middle of something, you can't let go of the levers, and you're just taking the pain until you can smash them.
well, I don't know about you, but if I'm like swinging, I'd probably go like
Well,
that.
I
and get
do.
back to
I
the
do
swing.
sometimes, but when you're over the plant feeding the plant or something, you got to be so careful that you don't hit the water bars.
Yeah, but you can always just stop. If you're just feeding the plant
Yeah,
like that,
well,
you can just take your
As
hands off
fast
the
as you
controls.
can, you do that, but sometimes you just can't. You got to sit there and take that 1 or 2 seconds.
Haven't run into that yet, Chris.
No, he will. He will.
What?
Them flies like that.
Chris says, yeah, when you start spitting at them because both hands are occupied, you know it's bad. I don't know. Did they go underground?
I never ran, no, because usually underground here, the hotter it is outside, the cooler it is in the mine. So I've never had any issue. I've seen mosquitoes underground, close to the portal or.
Because theoretically, I've been doing a lot of work underground. Maybe I
Yeah.
need to prioritize that.
Usually you got, some airflow in a mine too. So
Okay, now I get ADSB, George, Chris. Yeah. ADSB is an air traffic control. I think it's a transponder coding system or something, but I'm not sure. But now it makes sense. The Beartooths have over 10,000 lakes and hundreds of thousands of puddles, none of which can support fish. So the mosquitoes are insane.
yeah.
Where is that?
Yeah, Adam, we're awake.
Never quit.
Still use Loran, huh? Oh my god. Well, the planes have GPS on them. Yeah. Anyhow, any more mining questions, anybody? And whenever you have a real good bug situation wherever you're at, take a picture of it so we can see it. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Lodak. I appreciate it. No, uh, no apology required. I just have no idea who was saying what because I couldn't see it.
It didn't come up here.
It did not show up on ours at all. So I didn't know what you were talking about. But thank you for helping out. Really appreciate it. Now I know what to do. Yeah. I say I just never saw it. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, Zeoxio. He lives in Butte.
Yeah.
He says there's 7 mine shafts within a block of his house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I want to see them.
That town's like Swiss cheese underneath.
Sooner or later, it's all going to go. Poof. Yep. Well, they have systems now that use automatic LiDAR to scan pits and stuff. That might have to
See
see
if
that
anything moves.
see where it's settling. You know.
To see that the view of all those shafts and tunnels and that, man, it's incredible what's under that town.
Yeah, I'm sure Zeoxio. Any other questions or subjects? I've got my list, which I will probably forget, but it is written down now.
Yeah.
And see if I can get that damn saw tomorrow, because I've got things I need to do with it. And hopefully, if I can get it tomorrow, then theoretically, little one, we should be able to go out to be back Thursday. What is it? Just Monday, right?
Yeah.
We get the saw tomorrow. You get your stuff done tomorrow, and get stuff out at the ranch done tomorrow. And then we could head out to be on Wednesday and Thursday. Get some good work on that timbering, and get back. Not that I know of, Zeoxil. If you can, it would definitely be something.
Yeah. It is something.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here again tonight.
Yep. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the input, everyone. Thanks, Chris and Mr. Lodak, for dealing with some of the, say, we never even saw it on our screen. I don't know why that is, but thank you very much for the help. We appreciate it. So, anyhow, happy prospecting. Keep it safe out there. And we'll try and get some more stuff uploaded and like that. Argonaut says, you guys and gal are great. First time in my life, I look forward to Mondays.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Argonaut.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Argonaut.
Good night, all.